Cool.
Whoa, shit. How's it going,
Oh
guys?
no, he's here. Okay. Hey.
Oh,
Hey.
is that,
Hey,
is
Let me
Sony.
put my camera on.
is that Nas? It sounds like Nas. Oh, no. Who's
No,
that?
it's Jessica.
Me. Sorry.
How's it going, guys? Good to see you guys again.
Hey.
That's
I
the-
have an announcement before we get started. So
right. Oh, that's Jessica. What's up, Jessica?
hey, yeah. I just want to let more people tune on first, but I actually really have some exciting news.
Oh, dope. Oh, yeah. Let's wait until everyone joins in, and then we can.
Yeah. No, everyone needs to hear this.
Nice. What's
Yes.
up, Orlando? New one. How's it going? Lucas. Right. I'll keep everyone on for now, and then Rajesh. What's up, Renji? How's it going, dude? I haven't seen you guys before. Welcome. Jen, how's it going? You're killing it in the team. Christian, how's it going, dude? Amanath. Right, guys, if we can, let's all just throw on our cameras. So I love to see everyone's faces. Let's just get everyone on, and then it's a lot more interactive.
I need everybody's reaction when they see what I have got exciting news, and I need everybody's cameras on.
That's it. You heard her, guys.
Hello.
What's up, Hardeep? How's it going, dude?
How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Good. Let me say, all right. Rishi, what's up, dude?
Hi, man. How are you?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm good. Pretty good.
Rocio, how's it going? Wyatt, Noah, John T, Nero. A lot of new faces today. Nice. Hey, Daniel, AJ.
Mute your mics, guys. Mute your mics. I hear TV.
All right, let's have a look. Let's just give it a few more minutes, guys.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
This is James.
How's it going?
Sorry for it because I was on another call, so sorry for that.
No worries, dude.
So I need a lot of the other devs, they're putting a success coach as a co-host. So I don't know who wants to volunteer as a success coach to be a co-host for maybe the mic situation to help you while you're doing your thing.
Okay, yeah. So that's to do with the sort of participant management, right?
Yeah.
Okay, dope. Yeah, I'll tell you what. In that case, how do I do that? It says make host, part in waiting room. I don't know how you make a co-host.
Nas did it, so I don't know. You know who knows David? I don't know if he's gonna hop on the call.
Yeah, I'm
David,
like.
are you on the
can
call?
do it by like if you click on participants, and like if you go to like any of the participants, and when you click on more, you can make them co-host.
Okay, so let's have a look. So we got Jessica. Okay, so right now I can't actually make anyone co-host for some reason. So I'll double check this afterwards, and we can sort of get on that. So I don't know why that's happening, but I'll figure that one out.
No worries.
Yeah, we can do that one next time. That's okay. All right, so Muiz, how's it going, dude?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say a big thing people do is mute everybody at once, and then they unmute themselves when they're gonna talk. You know?
Yeah. While we're just saying hello to everyone.
Oh yeah. I was talking about later when the class starts.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
Nice.
Yeah, my bad. Hey everybody, don't do mute yourself now. Say hello. Put your cameras on. Let's go.
That's it. Throw your cameras on. That's it.
Now. Now's the time to talk. You got questions for Sony? Now's the time to ask.
How's it going?
Before it goes down, so he could get to his.
Yeah, everyone, check out Natsuki's little dog. Everyone wave at the little dog. What dog is that? That's nice. What's up, David?
Oh, hello.
Oh, look at that.
There.
Nice.
Looks like a music video.
What's up, Dina? How's it going?
Hey, how are you guys? Good.
Hey, Dina.
Good.
I just came from outside. Yeah.
Nice. Walid, Demagog, nice. Gabby,
Yes.
Jeremy.
Oh,
how's it going, guys? Awesome. Okay. So I'm just checking that we've actually invited everyone. So give me 2 seconds, guys.
Yeah.
Just double check that everything's been sent out.
Super excited. Oh my god.
What's the date today? Okay, yeah. Okay. Nice. We already got 50 people. That's crazy. John's in space. Nice, dude. How's it going? Okay. So let's get started.
Can I do my update before you do?
You can do your update. So,
All right.
so Jessica's got some news to share with you guys. So Jessica, do you want to
So I'm
drop it?
Jessica Gross. I was winner of the challenge. I've been doing Kazi's mentorship. I've been taking everything he says to heart. I'm going to put you on to some of what he's told me, what I've been putting into use, and how it's been working out for me, and how you could do the same. All right. So recently, I have a client myself that I've been working with. I'm building their website. I'm also working with a tutoring client. I'm doing the modules. And recently, I decided to grind on social media just to show you guys also that you could do it and build my account. And it's also important for me. But as far as this part, this was, guys, for you and to show you how it's done. So I've been grinding on social media for like 2-3 days, connecting with people, connecting with devs, everybody, like putting important posts out there, commenting, getting really involved. People started coming up to me. How do I learn to code? I need to learn how to code. I said, I teach code, but you know what? I'm trying to make a living. It ain't free, but I'm booked up. I got other people that know what to do, that know how to get it done, and I'm gonna put you in touch with them. I got 3 people in in 2 days, and I already, like, and I got one in the works. And like, dude, everybody gotta sign on to Insta. Everybody gotta create accounts. Everybody gotta pump up their LinkedIn, make it hot to put it in their bio. Put this down. You can look at mine. That's for the mentorship, but you could customize it for this program. Like, the success coaches, put your thing on the LinkedIn. Let's get it popping. Let's get on social media. Follow me. Sony knows where it's at. He's been reposting mine. I've probably been getting follows from him. I probably get follows from Nas and everybody else. Yo, like, seriously, you want tutoring? You want to get paid while you learn and earn? This is what you need to do. And that's my announcement. Thank you.
Holy, nice. So to put it short, she landed a client. She's been teaching clients. I think we should give her a round of applause. That was dope.
It's exciting.
Bravo, Jess.
Yeah.
That's what we're
The
talking
energy.
about, guys.
The mic
Nice.
drop, mic drop.
Mic drop,
Seriously.
that's that. So, right. So firstly, any new people here? So anyone who's new, I just want you to raise your hand so that way I can figure out. I see quite a few new faces actually. So if you're new here and you haven't been to these calls before, just pop your hand up and also have the camera on so I can see you guys. Awesome. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Cool. Joma, what's going on? Nice to see you. John, how's it going, dude? Okay. Nice. So firstly, I want to thank all the success coaches because you guys lately have been on fire. So like, not only have you been like an amazing support to the community, every time there is a question in the Slack channel, every time there's something going up in the Slack channel, before I even get a chance to go there, you guys are on that. And then you'll send a link, you'll send everything. Things have been things have been moving so fast. It's hard to keep up with you guys. So in that case, yeah, I want to thank everyone. So Jessica, Rishi, David, Kiska, all of you guys, Louise. If I miss names, forgive me because we have a lot of success coaches now. So you guys are killing it. Amarnath, dude, is crazy.
I want to make sure this is recorded for me. Everybody at Jessica6M on Insta. That's why I didn't mean to interrupt, but I needed to drop that down there because y'all need to follow me and see what I'm doing.
Nice, nice.
And I've been getting it started, and I could help you with.
That's it. Dope. Okay, so guys, let me just. Okay. So I wanted to go through some of the homework firstly, guys. So I was looking through, and actually, surprisingly, just checking it now. Okay, whoa, we had a lot of last minute submissions. So this is crazy. When I checked this morning, we had like 5, and now we have 16 submissions. So that's dope. So I'll tell you what, let's go through some people's work right now. Let's have a check. So we've got I'm going to share my desktop. So you guys can see this, right? Let's go check out, Ray's homework. So hopefully this doesn't take too long to load. But I want to speak to you guys. So in terms of the homework assignment, how did you guys find it? Just speak up, guys. Don't be shy.
Great. It was.
You found it great? Yeah?
Yes.
So who sort of okay, so let's just split it into 2 separate groups. Who found it extremely tricky, didn't make sense, and wants to go through it again? So just raise your hand if you found it quite tricky.
Okay, for me, it was a really big challenge. It was a struggle, my brains. But it was finally, at the end, was good.
Okay, nice. So in that case, like I see 16 people submitted their work, right? And in the other sort of homework submissions, I mean, we have about 25 on average, 30 on some of them, on others. So 16 is actually not bad. I think we can get the number up. So next time, what I will do is, so today I've actually, rather than sort of introduce a new piece of homework, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the existing homework with you guys, because we have a mix of sort of talent here. We have people who are more comfortable in React. We have people who are still learning React. And then I've set a really nice extension for you guys, which will kind of teach you a bit about back-end development, but in a very nice front-end focused approach. So if you guys have heard of Firebase, get excited because that's what we're going to be going over today. So that's going to be the sort of today's game plan. I did have somebody I was going to bring on board, but they're not actually able to make it today. So every week I'm going to try and bring on someone to come on and speak about their coding experiences. Also, actually, Dina actually did a live webinar call. Dina, how did that go?
Yeah, it was nice. It was my first time to be on such a event.
Nice.
Yes, I was a bit shy and I was a bit stressed because it was first time, but actually it went good. There is a video, but it's on Macedonian, so you will not understand it. But there is a presentation. Also, I mentioned you guys, so yeah.
Nice. Okay,
Nice,
awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Next time, drop a link and everyone can jump in, see what you're up to. Yeah, that'd
It
be
was
cool.
my first time, so I was like a bit
No,
stressed. I
completely.
couldn't sleep.
Yeah, I bet. It's quite nerve-wracking when you do your first presentation, but once you get used to it, everything kind of rolls off the tongue and it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it was for organization. It's called Women Tech. So there is in Macedonia, there is ambassadors that are representing them. So yeah, they invited me to be a part of it and to tell my experience, how to change your profession in late years, 34, while you are a parent. So yeah.
Nice.
It was
Nice.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
awesome there.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So let's go. I can't actually get the homework running. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through screenshots together, guys. So we're going to have a look. Let's have a look. Jen, did anyone see Jen's homework? I was blown away when I saw her designs. This is insane. This is so cool. Like when I saw this, especially this little margin right here, because when you're styling it, you are using a margin to get it across like that, which is, I just thought this was genius design. So Jen, how did you find the homework when you did this? Did you find it pretty cool? Have you coded in React before?
I am not coded in React. We use Angular at work, so it's a little bit similar, some of the ideas. But yeah, I had fun with it,
Yeah,
obviously.
You crushed it, honestly. And then you were helping people out. I was like, go Jen. So that's really, really good to see. Nice. And we've got a few others here. So we've got Rishi's app that we all based everything off last time, which is awesome. Did you guys also, I'd highly recommend, if you do ever get stuck on this homework, Rishi and Yusuf dropped an amazing, amazing tutorial. I think many of you guys have seen it, but if you haven't, we'll drop a link for that afterwards because I thought it was actually really, really good. I'm trying to get the participants. I don't know why it doesn't show me the chat still, but it'll be okay. Yeah. So guys, I can't actually see the chat when I'm sharing the screen for some reason. Oh, show chat. Oh, okay. I still can't see the chat. Yeah. So if anyone does message in the chat, just know I can't see that. What I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to mute all the mics. And then if you do want to talk, just unmute your mic, right? So I'm going to let everyone unmute it. So let's do mute our participants to unmute themselves. Yes. Okay. So bear in mind, if you do want to ask a question, just unmute your mic and then give me a shout. So let's have a look. So we got Hardeep's homework. Let's check this out. Nice. VV. Nice. Okay. And then we've got, let's have a look at this one. Dope. Okay. This is cool, guys. And then we got this one. Let's have a look. See, it's clean. Like everyone got it done. And I can see you guys have even done the delete functionality. So this one, I can't actually run that one. So I can run it, but it's going to take a while to get running. Dope. So everyone did the delete functionality. So I'm guessing a lot of you guys, if you did watch Rishi and Yusuf's video, can you just raise your hand so that I have an idea if that was useful? So guys, so yep, raise your hand. Okay, so Hardeep, I see quite a few of you guys raising. Nice. Okay, cool. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we're going to go through this together today, and then I'm going to introduce you guys to Firebase, which is just insane. But once you guys get used to Firebase, you're going to be able to build whatever you guys want, and it's just so powerful. And I don't know, a lot of you guys have heard of, I actually forget the name of it myself, but it's basically the stack where you have React, JavaScript, MongoDB, and does anyone know?
Beanstalk.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's that. So instead of that, I have an upgraded version where pretty much we don't bother too much. So as a front end developer, right now we're all focusing our skills on pretty much, when we're talking about React, we're talking about front end development, right? We want to focus on front end development and we want to get that super strong because there's so many areas we can improve on that. Now, when we have things like Express.js, which is like a backend server, and you're running like Node.js on that server, it can get sort of complicated as to what front end and what the back end is. So what the guys over at Google did is they made a service called Firebase. Now, if you guys have ever used Firebase, you understand how powerful that thing is. You can do everything on Firebase. So you can have your logins, your authentications, you can have your image hosting, anything on Firebase. And you can even, like, when it comes to authentication, it's quite painful to have like Facebook logins, to have GitHub logins and all those things. Once you set it up once with Firebase, you can have everything. And I'll show you guys how simple that is. And we're going to set all of that up today. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, I've got a funny story for you guys. So actually, last time on the call, so I'm not sure. So Rishi actually dropped this to me and he's laughing right now because he knows what I'm about to say. So guys, I just wanted to raise a point here, right? So this community is bloody amazing, right? Everyone's here to support each other. Everyone's here to like be positive and encouraging, and nobody's here to make anyone else feel uncomfortable. Now, we had somebody in the last previous call who reached out and was kind of messaging some of the girls on the sort of feed. And one of those girls happened to be my girlfriend who was on the actual, on the call. And she's actually on the call right now. Her name's Merban. And the point is that Rishi reached out to me. He was like, yo, there's some people on the chat who aren't in here. And I guess some people are going to join the chat who aren't part of the course, which is actually completely fine. But the point is, guys, let's keep it completely respectful, because I know we had a situation last time where some guy was messaging a couple of the girls and he made them feel uncomfortable on the course. We don't want any of that. And in this community, what we will find out. So I don't know if you guys saw last time, Kazi dropped a message saying, right, we're going to go pay him a visit, all of us guys. But what I would say on that front is we have a zero take policy on anything that makes anyone like feel uncomfortable or sort of not want to be here, because we want to make each other feel welcome. And it was quite a funny story because last time it was actually towards my girlfriend, which was really funny. So let's just avoid that in total. But yeah, so let's move on from that. But let's just know, guys, that we do monitor a lot of the chats, and we can see what's going on. And it's pretty much a case of if somebody does do that and we warn them of what's going on and they still don't react on it, then we will remove from the course. Because in the end of the day, we want this community to be thriving and we want it to be positive, and that's how we want to keep everyone at. Right, is Yusuf in this chat, by the way? Is Yusuf joined yet? He said he was joining. Okay, so well, we can do that.
Who was it?
Sorry? No, guys, we're not going to name drop. We're not going to name drop.
Turn up your cams, everybody.
What was that?
Turn up your cams, everybody.
Yeah, turn up your cams, guys. No, we're not going to name drop because we don't do that here. And again, we believe in second chances for everyone. It's completely fine. Like, things can go through the cracks and it's completely fine. But if it's a repeated offense, then guys, we will have to remove people from the course. And that's just something which is unfortunate. But when the community grows like it is growing right now, we have to have a level of respect for everyone on the team. Louise, I just love how you're sitting on a beach right now. So, okay, so let's move on, guys. So today, so I'm going to start with actually something a little bit different. So let me share my screen in a sec. So a few of you guys, we talked about VS Code extensions last time, and a lot of you guys actually really, really liked the extensions that we spoke about, and you found them useful. You found that they were quite, that's good to see everyone. Yeah, we found them quite useful, and especially things like VS Code Live Share. I'm not sure if you guys are using that right now. Just raise your hand if any of you guys have used VS Code Live Share, because I want to see eventually everyone raising your hands. We've got Lucas, Nuan, Hardeep's doing it. We've got Rasmus, Jen, Rajesh, Rocio. Nice. Mavan, Jayotsna, Joma. Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, so guys, we want to keep that going, because honestly, what I'm trying to get the success coaches to do is pretty much whenever we have a student stuck, right? live sharing with that student is the most valuable thing you can do, I promise you, because not only as a teacher, you're going to be able to jump on and live share with them and as in code alongside them, but they're going to learn the most and they're going to get the most value from you as a teacher. And also like carrying over from what Jessica said earlier, when it comes to sort of like teaching and sort of like coaching people and things like that, there's one thing just sharing your screen, right? But when you actually got the person coding alongside you, it's a completely different experience. So today, when we go through things, I'm actually going to have so everyone on this call, we're going to try and live code along with me, okay? Which is going to be a little bit of an experience. And it's completely fine. I want you to know if you do fall behind, do not freak out. This call is recorded. And the whole point is that you can just come back, watch this at your own pace. But if you find that you're falling behind, I'd much rather you just focus on the video itself rather than sort of trying to keep up and just guess coding, okay? Because it can get a little bit tricky in React at sometimes, especially when you're learning. So few productivity hacks I want to talk about.
Where can I see the recorded calls?
Yeah, so actually that's my bad. So right now we've been posting it on the Slack channel, but in Kajabi, you know where Naz posts his live calls? So we will be updating that section to have mine. We've been sort of rescheduling the sections a bit because we don't want it to be spammed in that. You see on that sidebar where it shows all the live calls. Eventually you're not going to be able to see the course. So we're trying to figure out a solution which is quite clean. But yeah, so hopefully soon you'll have everything in that one section on Kajabi. Yeah, so it's not, you guys don't know what Kajabi is, but it's actually the login portal, which actually hosts everything. So, okay, so a few productivity hacks. So if you guys haven't heard of something called Rocket, I highly recommend you use it. So Rocket, oh, okay, we don't do that. We say Rocket tool. We definitely don't want Rocket food. Okay, where is it? I think it might be in the App Store actually. So let's check in the App Store. Let me share my screen. Wait, why is it going full screen? Okay. Can you guys see my screen? So there is a really handy app called, okay, it's not on here either. What the hell? Rocket Productivity. Okay, I can't find it. I will find this one, but Rocket is basically a handy app. And the point is Rocket allows you to do things like this. So when we're doing chats and things like that, right, we are going to be, so let's just say we want to type something in here. If you add a little colon and you start typing like fire emoji and things like that, it's pretty fun, right? You can just quickly get your emojis like that. And it sounds silly, trust me, but in the community, that's actually really handy. So that's a very handy tool, but I thought Rocket was something else. So we're going to move on to the next one. So the next one is Alfred. So many of you guys know about Alfred. Many of you guys don't know about Alfred. But Alfred is basically, if you've got a Mac, I'm not sure if it's on Windows. So there might be an alternative to Windows. So if anyone does know that, just speak up now and we can sort of go through that one together. But for Mac, if you do have a Mac, Alfred is going to be your best friend. So Alfred is basically, it's a little productivity tool, right? And what happens is you map it to Command and Spacebar. And then right now, so say if I press Command Spacebar, for some reason it does not work when I'm sharing my screen. But the point is if you press Command Spacebar, so if anyone with a Mac right now, if you press Command Spacebar, you'll see a little pop-up on your screen, right? And you can start typing in it. And what it's going to allow you to do is basically find files. It's going to allow.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Oh God, why is Siri talking? Oops.
Hello.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, so what Rocket does is it's basically a supercharged tool. If you can get the power pack, and I will teach you guys how to set up. So basically this is what I was talking about. So when you press Command Spacebar, you'll see this little pop-up, right? And you can write G Star Wars, and that'll basically Google Star Wars or something like that. You can have many, many shortcuts on here, but a really handy one, which Kazi taught me, is pretty much when you have, for example, what we all do now in the Clever Programmer team is say, for example, I need this bit of text for later, right? I'll copy this. I'll copy this. I'll go down. I'll copy this. And now, if I press Command Shift V, okay, it's not gonna, for some reason it's not working. Command Shift V. Okay, I'll give you a demo of that on a Loom. I'll drop a Loom video on this, but the point is you can actually get a history of all of your copy and paste stuff. So imagine when you're coding, right? Imagine like you constantly are copying things and like little snippets of code. How useful, literally since I've been using this, I've become such a faster coder because all of my snippets are in here. And if you change your settings, so I'll show you how we do this. If I open up Alfred, okay, so again, I have to do it this way. So if I open up Alfred right now, And where is Alfred? Okay, so Alfred just doesn't want a demo today. Okay, preferences. Let's see if it comes up. Okay, yeah, here we go. So when you download Alfred, set the hotkey to Command and Space. Yeah. Now, once you've done that, if you do have the Power Pack, I really recommend you guys get this because it honestly is really handy. Go to Clipboard History, and then basically where it says Clipboard History, change it to 3 months. So by default, you'll see it on 24 hours. But this like changed my life because this thing right here, it's just copy and pasting, but it's something you really do overlook because now I never have to check for the Zoom link. I never have to check for snippets of code. So say, for example, if I completely forget how to use the use state hook, I literally just type in Command-Shift-V. So you can set a hotkey. Yeah, I'll press Command-Shift-V and a pop-up like this will come up on the screen. There'll be an Alfred version. And then I can pretty much just type in like use state and it will show me all of the times I've copied and pasted a use state snippet. So I really, really do recommend this, guys, okay? So definitely get that done. And also keep images for 24 hours, which is quite handy. But you've got all these other power-ups, which I don't even know half of these ones, but you can use like a calculator. It's just, Alfred is gonna be your best friend. And now I never pretty much, I don't know if you guys use like this stuff and use, even for example, the Launchpad, but I don't use any of that. I literally just type in Command Space and I type like Chrome, I type in Slack, and everything's super fast on that front. So I highly recommend that as a little top tip. The next one I would say is something called Magnet. So Magnet is a really handy snap tool. So a lot of you guys who have Windows will be like, oh, we already have that. But the point is that in Mac, you don't have a snapping tool. So you see this, where you pretty much snap to the left, snap to the right. Oops, I've chucked it on a different screen there. Yeah, so you can snap it to the top. It's just a really handy tool, and that one is inside of the App Store. So if you go into the App Store, so Windows people, you don't have to do this, but the ones on Mac, I highly recommend you do it because it's actually, and guys, the reason why I'm stressing this so much is because when I started on the team, right, I remember literally I had Kazi, I had Naz, I had Frankie, I had Aaron. All of them were slating me because I weren't using these productivity tools. They were like, you open up apps in the Launchpad? And I was like, well, yeah, like it's pretty quick. I can get done. Because they were like, no, like you save 2 seconds by doing it this way. And then now we just do things super fast. So everything we do is really quick by using all these shortcuts. So I would say use this tool. So this is Magnet. So if you do want to check it out, that's the one that you need to go to. Only for the Mac users. Obviously, it's built into Mac. It's built into Windows. Okay, so that's the next one. There's another one called Spectacle. So Spectacle, I think,
Sorry, Sonny, it's Moise. I have a question. This Magnet tool, is it paid or it's free?
So Magnet, I believe, might be paid. I think it's like yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's paid, to be honest. It might be like £1.
Man. It's $2. I just bought it.
Okay, yeah, so I would recommend it, honestly. I would say it really did like help me out in terms of like sometimes if you've got a small screen, right, you see like I can chuck it into this corner. For some reason it's disabled it, but yeah, here you see like this, right? And I can it will chuck it into that quadrant of the corner. And believe me guys, like when you've got you've only got a little bit of screen real estate, this can actually really make you productive because you can have like a piece of code, you can have a little Chrome over there, you can have a little bit of an image over there. And these things really do make your life easier when you're coding. So the next one is something called, I think this is free, by the way, Louise, this one. So if you type in Spectacle tool or Spectacle app, yeah, so this one. So you've got move and resize windows with ease. Now this one is much more of a keyboard shortcut. So if some of you guys prefer like drag and drop UI sort of things like this. But in this case, I used to be a drag and drop guy, and now I'm very much keyboard shortcuts. So this one, for example, if I press Option Command left, you see it snaps to the left. If I press Option Command right, it snaps to the right. If I press it right twice, it gives me a little bit more space. If I press up, it does that. If I press down, it does that. And you can see like this is super quick. Yeah. So like honestly, this is like you can go crazy with this thing. Like, and if you compare that with like shortcuts like this, so if I do Command Tab, now you can basically pull up like another app. So for example, I could just pull up like, what have I not got something sensitive? So we can say terminal. Let's just pull up the terminal. My Alfred does not want to work when I'm demoing. I don't know why. Terminal. Let's just get this open. Okay, so for example, say I've got the terminal here. I could just do like this, boom. I can go there. And then say, for example, I want to have this on the top now. I can do Command Shift up do a shortcut, Command Shift down. You see, like you can pretty much do this super quick. And like, when I mean that, like, it sounds silly, right? But sometimes, honestly, like, this will actually make your coding experience so much better. So learn these shortcuts, take the time out. It doesn't take long to learn these things. And once you do them, you'll really, really thank yourself in the long term. Because they do save, like, honestly, the things that save you 5 seconds here, 2 seconds there, like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're coding for hours and hours and hours, trust me, guys, that adds up. Like, that adds up a lot, and it takes a lot of pressure off of you. If you want to get things quickly organized, you know the shortcuts, and you can do that. So that's really good. Also, I would recommend, if you don't already, use a mouse. So like, I know a lot of you guys have like, you're pretty much using a trackpad, or you're using like just a normal plain mouse. If you can, if you have a Mac, learn all the shortcuts. So a lot, like, if you do have a Mac right now, just raise your hand, by the way. I'm really curious to know who has Macs and who has Windows. So if you've got a Mac, just raise your hand. Let's have a look. So, okay, so it's quite, okay, so fair amount.
I will in a week.
What's that?
I will have one in a week.
Okay, nice, dope, nice. Also, guys, there's a whole page of people without their cameras on. Like, throw your cameras on if you're here. It's so nice when I get to see you guys, and like, we can talk, and it's much more personal when we do it that way. So let me see if did some people turn their cameras on. Okay, still have a few. Nice. Okay, we got a few. We got someone driving right now. That's dedication. Like, you heard it. Nice. Okay. So I like the shades, dude. All right, so let's carry on. So, yeah. So what I would recommend is, I personally use like an MX Master, so this mouse. So any mouse with buttons will do. The point is, you can get really cheap ones on, oh, let me stop sharing my screen because you guys actually can't see very easily. So there we go. So I use something called an MX Master, which is this thing. Why am I not pinned? Okay. Am I on the screen, guys, or is it like someone else right now?
Yeah, good. It's you.
It's me, right?
It's you.
Yeah, because on my screen it doesn't show that. So right now, this one's really cool. So it's got like these little buttons on here, and you can map them to do whatever you want. And the point is like, any sort of, I really do recommend this one if you can get it. But honestly, any cheap one on Amazon will do. Like, it does the trick, and it just saves you a lot of time. So like, I know like you can get super quick with the trackpad, but once you do get a mouse, that's another thing which will save you a few seconds here and there. So those are the sort of productivity hacks for today. I'm really curious, by the way, because we're always trying to figure out if other people have it. Does anyone have any productivity hacks they want to share with the whole team, like with anyone right now? Anyone? You must have, come on, I don't believe that there's 74 people here and nobody has a productivity hack.
I mean, Sony, like, I don't have any hack or something like that, but like when you use Alfred and when you like assign the command plus spacebar as the hotkey, I guess you need to disable the default search bar.
Yes, that's actually a really good point. So you would have to go into system preferences. I believe it's in either keyboard or keyboard. Yeah, so I think it's in keyboard. Yeah, so keyboard spotlight. And you see this one right here. So thank you for that, Rishi. That's actually so important. You have to disable this. If you use Alfred, you have to disable that.
You're not sharing your screen, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So thank you for telling me that, because if you don't do that, guys, you're going to have them competing. So it's like they're trying to compete for the same spot, okay? So you need to disable that when you do that. Cheers for that, Rich. Okay, so anything else? So anyone else want to share any productivity hacks?
I was saying in the chat that I actually use Evernote, which was similar to what you were showing.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, Evernote, any kind of note-taking software, I literally just hack away at the Notes app. So I just always, if you saw my notes, I have so much gibberish on these things. Like, literally, whenever you're trying to think something out, I literally would just ramble on here. So it could, like, if somebody saw my notes, it wouldn't make sense to anyone else. But to me, sometimes just getting something out visually, whether it be like a complete, like, just odd word here, odd word there, it's going to help you out, and it's going to, like, save you a lot of headache. Because trust me, I know when you're in the zone, like, you can remember everything, but give it an hour, and like, say you've burnt out after an intense session of coding, you might come back after you've had a snack and you're like, what the hell, like, who wrote this? Like, I can see like a few people, Jeremy's like, yeah, I've had that before. Yeah, like, everyone's had this sort of problem where, like, you get into this sort of like brain, I call it brain mush or brain fog, where you just can't think straight. But that's going to happen at some point. So I recommend you just note things down. Even for like these calls, I just note down a bunch of things so I don't forget that what we can go over and stuff. So, okay. So I would highly recommend each and every one of you. So next time I sort of jump on this call, I want you guys to show me the hacks that you've come up with, because trust me, guys, this will save you a lot of time. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to talk about GitHub. So GitHub's super important, guys. Now, many of you guys, I'm sure a lot of you would have heard of what GitHub is, but just so I know, like for those of you who don't know what GitHub is, just raise your hand. So like, I just need to know like roughly who's heard of GitHub. Okay, so Kim, Armand, let's have a look. Stan. Okay, so there's a few of us who don't know what GitHub is. So I'm going to explain everything now. So GitHub is a professional way of like, imagine it's like the professional way to share code. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen now, and then I can show you what I mean. So GitHub is an essential tool. You have to know what GitHub is, and you have to know how to use GitHub. And it's basically something we call source control. So you see, the world's leading software development platform. And the reason why this is super important, so I've got so many random projects that I've been working on, so like ignore this on the side. But basically, this is going to be a place where, let's say you join a company, all of the code that that company has is going to be on a GitHub repo, most likely. There's other ones, there's like, I can't remember, there's like GitLabs and things like that. But GitHub is like the most popular one, and Microsoft own it now. So they recently acquired it. So since they've owned it, they've actually like upgraded the hell out of it. And it's actually getting really, really powerful now. And the point is, guys, once you get familiar with GitHub, you can actually start working on things called open source projects. So I'd highly recommend you guys do this. So if you ever find a tool which is useful, for example, and don't think that, oh, I can't like go in and do this. Like, believe me, I've contributed to Stripe. I've contributed to the PayPal open source coding like module. I've contributed to a few like massive things, and actually people are using them right now. And it's like, holy crap, like my piece of code made it into somewhere that's being used by millions of people. And you guys can have that effect too. And that's what open source is called. So like in this case, if I click here, like Facebook React 360. So let's just click into that and see where it is. So this is where Facebook have a 360. So it's a VR sort of headset module. And obviously they have all the documentation here, but they teach you how to use it. The point is that if you wanted to work on this right now, the chances are you could. So look, you can see 38 contributors worked on this, and you could be one of those. Yeah. And honestly, like, it's not difficult. It's a bit scary in the beginning. Like, what does fork mean? What does like all of these things mean? But just like take it step by step. Don't get overwhelmed by GitHub. Like it can be a freaky place. Source control. And guys, I want to make this so clear from the get-go. The number of times I have broken my source control, like I've messed up a GitHub command and I've thought I've screwed everything up, is like unreal. So like if you guys get into that point, it's completely natural and it's a learning curve. And that's the whole reason why we have everyone around us to say like, how do I undo the mess that I just created? There's some tools like GitKraken where you can have like a visual sort of look at like a GitHub repo. But the point is, GitHub is basically where code lives. Like it's where you want your code to live. And the really important thing to note here is that whenever you're coding, right, have you ever run into a situation where you delete a file and you pretty much are like, oh my God, I can't find that file anymore. Or you go to the recycle bin and you're like, recover. And then you're just like, oh my God, I've lost it. And then you have to like, some people may have literally even started a new React app, or they might have started a new sort of project from fresh, just so that they can pretty much get that missing file again. I've done it before when I was learning. So the point is, with source control and with Git, you can actually just very easily track the changes that go on. You can very easily commit things. So what we have is commits. So commits are basically like, you see here, we have like Facebook React. So this is a VR headset one. So this is their code base. So master is what we call the main, basically, let's call it a branch. So everything lives on things called branches in GitHub repos. And the main one is usually called master. Right, and I'll explain what branches are for now, but later on. But it doesn't really matter at this point. Commits are basically like, let's call them checkpoints. So like instead of like having all of your code in one place just dumped, you have like very small micro commits, and each commit has a purpose, right? So let's say like in this case, this guy just removed some legacy examples, whatever that means, removed old testing setup, get unit tests running in root directory. And if we click this, it's actually going to show us right now all the files. So that he changed this file. The green means he added these things in this file. Just config, he added this stuff here. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Yeah, we've got a few things here. And you can see like the red ones. So there's two views you can have. You can have unified or split. So if I go into unified, you can see all the green is where they've added code. And you can see here, like you can pretty much see right now that he's added like 2 packages into like package.json. So we don't need to know exactly what that means. But in this case, you can see from this one commit, he's added a bunch of code. He's removed some code. In this case, he's fixed, like this bit was named incorrectly. He's fixed it here. You can see it's super easy, guys. It's super easy. And the amazing part is this is like a time machine. Okay. So like, imagine you completely, you're working at Facebook, you do a bunch of work for them. And then let's just say like you submitted some code which broke everything. And Mark Zuckerberg's like, who the hell built this thing? And like starts going crazy. You can just rewind to a commit. It's as simple as that. Yeah, you can roll your back. We call it a rollback. So basically, you don't have to freak out. Nothing's destroyed forever. You just simply roll back to a previous commit. So let's say like at this point, all the code broke. You just roll back to like where it was working again. So like, I hope that made sense. But I'm gonna actually just show you. So is somebody trying to talk? 1 second, I'm trying to see. Okay. No.
What would be a command for when you roll it back to a previous commit?
So that I will actually show you through, I'd say the easiest way to go through that stuff is do it for a demo, because you have things called like git reset and things like that, which if I explain it now, it won't make a lot of sense. So there's 2 ways actually to answer your question. You can do it on the command line. So the command line is the scary place to do Git stuff, but I'm telling you, once you learn it, it's really powerful. You can do it really well.
Yeah, I like doing Git from command line.
But I never used to. So when I actually first started, I used to be scared of the command line. I used to be like, I don't want to touch it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to break something. And then I sort of like somebody at my workplace said, no, trust me, once you get good at the command line with Git, you can be really quick. And it's true. Like, honestly, once you do get familiar. And the thing is, guys, you can undo a lot of the damage that you end up doing. So just give it a go. Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And you have like nearly 1,000 people in this community to help you out. We have all the success coaches. If you break something, don't freak out. Just reach out to someone and say, look, I tried to do this. Didn't go to plan, but how do I undo it now? And at least you tried. And at least next time, you're not going to run into that same problem. So let's go through, let's actually create one together right now. So we're going to basically create a repo together. Then we're going to basically call it like the to-do app. And you guys are going to have access to this repo because I'm going to make it a public repo. So you can have 2 types. You can have a public and a private. Public is obviously open to everyone. Private is obviously like you can invite certain members to it and you can just work in a small closed team. If you're working on small projects, I'd recommend doing a private one. But if you want to showcase some stuff to like potential employers, then have public ones on your account. It looks really good. Don't go looking at mine because I have a bunch of test ones on there. But I'll clean it up for you guys afterwards. So now we're going to create one. So let's go new repo. So up here. And then it basically has your account here. So these are some work ones. This is my one. And let's just say this one is going to be called a to-do app. Okay? To-do app is available. We're all good. We don't need to worry about a description, but in this case, we could say this is a demonstration for the to-do app. Okay? And we want to make it public. And then we can say initialize this repo with a README. So in this case, let's just tick that. We don't need to worry about all of this, but this allows us to immediately clone the repo to our computer. So the way I'm showing you right now is the simplest way of doing it. I will show you other ways, and there's different ways you can basically get a repo onto your computer, but this is the way that we're going to do for now. So we click create repo, and congratulations, you have your first repo. And the nice way of doing this now is basically you want to go to this green button here. And it says clone or download, right?
Sony.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm getting a lot of back noise. I don't know if you guys, could you guys mute your mics, please?
I've muted the other 2 now. Is that better?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it's better, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna
hear any noise.
Yeah, I think now I can't hear any noise.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, are we all good now?
We're good.
Okay. Good. So the way we basically get this onto our computer now. Oh, what's up, Yusuf? How's it going, dude? Hey, Yusuf's in. Nice. All right. We're basically, Yusuf, we're going through how to create a GitHub repo. And then we're going to go through the to-do list app. And then we're going to introduce Firebase. There's gonna be some fun stuff on this one. All right, now and guys, just some backstory here. So when Yusuf reached out to me first, he was pretty much showing me like a Socket.io app. So it's like a web chat. So a lot of you guys might have seen it. And then Yusuf's like came to me, and this is what I recommend all of you guys do, because Yusuf's flying now. Like honestly, like he literally reached out to me. He said, what can I do? Like, as in like, what can I do? Just like help me out as a developer. I'm like in my journey. And pretty much I just gave him some guidance. I was like, why don't you check out Firebase? Firebase is a really good tool. It can help you build this app in a much cleaner way. I gave him a few instructions. And when I mean he ran with it, he like ran with that thing so far. Like he came back to me the next day and he was like, Sonny, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And he even asked me a bunch of questions. That's the best way to learn, guys. And like, I guarantee Yusuf, like it threw you out your comfort zone, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So like, if you guys feel uncomfortable, then like, it's a good thing. Like you want to be feeling uncomfortable. You want to be feeling like, oh, this is like, I'm too far in my depth. Like you want to basically get yourself into positions like that, because that's where you're going to learn. So let's go back to GitHub, because I got a bit off track. So
be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Exactly. So now what you want to do is click this big green button here, and you basically want to grab this and you basically copy this. Now, I'm not going to show, don't click these ones, guys, because like you end up messing things up and it just gets a bit annoying. The best way I would say is you can open up your terminal. Oh, I can't use Alfred. It's so frustrating. So I use iTerm. So you guys might use that. There's another one called Hyper, which is quite cool. I've downloaded Oh My ZSH, by the way, in case you're wondering why it doesn't show the little stuff that you guys might see. But right now, let's see what directory I'm in. So, okay. So right now I'm going to go to my desktop. So CD desktop. And then basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clone this repo on my desktop. And the way we do that is we basically say git clone, and then I paste what I copy. Oh God, that's definitely not what I pasted. So we're going to do this. Or you can click this button and it'll paste it, right? Git clone, and then you do that. And now enter, and it says cloning into to-do app. Now it may, at that point, ask you to log in or provide a password, in which case you have to use your GitHub password. There is another scenario that might come up where you have to generate a key. If that does happen for a lot of you guys, then let me know. Because there's a few times when that's been the case, and you basically, there's a way of doing it. You go into the settings, you generate a key, and then that becomes your password. But in this case, shouldn't run into that, I don't think. 1 second, I just got a message. Okay, nice. So now it's cloned it into, so you see it said cloning into to-do app. So if I do CD to-do app, so I've got a few here, oops, to-do app. And now you see it says to-do app, and it says git master. So on yours, it might not say git master, but this is Oh My ZSH, which is, by the way, if you guys are wondering what I'm saying, I'm not saying some random gibberish, by the way. It's actually a really cool package, this one, Oh My ZSH. So if you do have a Mac, I recommend you do this. Just follow the instructions. It's really, really good. And it basically cleans up your terminal. So it looks like it basically gives you what you need on here. So right now, what we need to do is we're going to open this as a code. So we're going to say code dot. Actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to set up our, okay, so this is where I messed up a little bit. Okay, we're going to do code dot. Yeah, right. I see where I've done a mistake here, but it's fine. We can initialize the React app inside of here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say mpx create React app. So create React app, and then I'm going to say to do app. Okay. So many of you guys who weren't here last time, what this is basically doing is, I'm not sure if you guys are if you guys know what this is, but MPX is basically a node package manager. So it's basically a way that we can pull in code from the community. In this case, this is something which Facebook built. And the purpose of this, guys, is completely to just set up a React app. So it gives you like a template React app. And then the thing after it is pretty much the name of your app. But before I run that, I just want to show you. So right now we have our code editor here, yeah? We have our code editor, and you can see here, this little symbol here. So if you're not using VS Code, go and use VS Code, because VS Code is awesome. Here you've got source control. Now you've got changes on the left, right? So what I'm going to show you guys is something which is crazy now. And then many of you guys are going to be like, oh my God, I didn't know this. And it's going to completely fix your problems that you are having with like losing files and all sorts. But let's say this is our directory. Let's say I add a new file here called index.js. And here I just want to do some code, and I can say like console.log hello, and I'm going to run this code. So I've actually got a little add-on which is called Code Runner, and it basically allows you to do that. So you right click and click run code. If you guys want that plugin, just go into here and just click Code Runner. Oh yeah, so it's there, Code Runner. It's a very handy plugin, and you can basically right click, and there's a shortcut for it as well, and you can run your JavaScript right here, which is really handy. But you can see now I've added a file, right? That file. So remember, guys, when we clone the repo, essentially what happened, and like as soon as we get our head around this, it makes a lot of sense. Like let me just go back to where we were at. So yeah, so this is like a snapshot, right? This is what is stored on GitHub. Now this is what we have on our machine. So the way we need to think about this now is what's on GitHub is what's basically the live in the cloud version. Yeah, so that's whatever we've stored on the cloud. And that's like protected, it's safe. It's like, even if our computer blows up, it's on the cloud, right? Now, and we want to keep our code in the cloud. Like we want to keep it somewhere safe. And on our machine, what we did is we git cloned, which means that we pulled a copy of that code repo onto our machine. Now, what I just did is I added a file to that copy, which means that now our copy is different from the version in GitHub repo. Right, so our copy is different from this version. So that's why we can see a 1 here. So if I click this here, you can see that changes because it's different to what is on the cloud. So if I click this now, you can actually see, so I'll make this full screen. So you can see it's very, very nice on VS Code. It shows you that you have this new file. So U is when you add a new file, because U stands for untracked, which means that it hasn't seen this file before. And basically what we can do now is I'll show you a little demo, is basically we can do something. So I'm not going to teach you the command line stuff just yet. I'm going to show you how to use VS Code to do your commits. Oops, okay, that did not be nice. But basically what we're going to do is, let's just say we want to commit this as a test, okay? So what we do is we go here to the left. We have to stage this file, which basically we click this one, and then it means, right, this one is the one, this file is what I want to include in this commit. So remember when I said a commit is like a checkpoint, right? So a commit is like you want to submit a checkpoint, or like you want to say, right, I've done this at this point. So we've basically said, include this file in that checkpoint. And then in this message, I can just say, this is a test commit. Because right now it has no special context, no special meaning. I just want it to be a test commit. And then basically what I can do is you can either press Command Enter to submit that, or you can press this little check mark. So you see it says commit. So let's do that. And now you can see it's disappeared from here. Okay. Now this is where people get confused. Okay. So what has happened now? You see, nothing's changed here, right? We've committed here, but the fundamental thing that just happened right now is this. So what I'm going to show you is install a plugin it's called GitLens. Okay. So I recommend you all get this like as soon as, so before you start doing this, click on GitLens. Why is it not loading? Yeah, GitLens, and install this. And what this will do is it'll pop this little thing in here. So you want to click that. And you have now, you see like we have master. Now master is what we have on GitHub. Now if I click this, you see it says 1 commit ahead, right? So this is very important, guys. So right now, remember where I said we cloned it. So we cloned it. So there's like a copy of what we have on GitHub on our machine. So we've literally got a copy on our machine and we've committed something to it. But remember, this is like, now the copy on our machine has like a commit, but it's different to what's on GitHub, right? So I know it can be confusing, but once we get our head around like this, like there's always like this difference, and you have to push your code and then bring it up to date. But basically what we want to do now is if I refresh this, you see nothing's changed. We can't see our commit. So if I click on commits, we don't see the commit that we did because we haven't done something called a push, right? So the two fundamentals in GitHub are commits and pushing, right? So you commit like checkpoints into your copy, and then you basically push it to update what is on GitHub. And then your things are in sync. So at this point, to do that, there's a few things you can do to make that really easy. You can either do, you can either go to source control here, and you can click these 3 little dots and click push. Or in the command line, what you can do is, let's just say we've got a command line here. So where's my command line? Terminal. So here I could basically say, if I click get status, so this is a little command line trick. If you get status, it says you're on the branch master. Your branch is ahead of origin master, which is basically referring to the one that's on GitHub, by 1 commit. Use get push to publish your local commits. So you can either do get push, and get push is going to push your commits over to GitHub, or remember I said you could do this one. And guys, there is also a button down here, but I don't recommend you use this button because this button has like broken a bunch of things for me before. But we could do that as well, and it would basically sync up the gets, the pushes and stuff like that. But in this case, in the command line, if we just do get push, watch what happens. So you see all this stuff where it's just sending it across, and now it says push to, and this is our GitHub repo. So now if I refresh our GitHub repo, you see, look, 2 commits, and it shows you the file, and it shows when that file was added, like which commit message that was in. So now if I click on commits, you can see this is a test commit. So if I click this, you can see it shows that piece of code that we added. Now this is so powerful, guys, and the reason why this is powerful is because imagine now, remember, there's 2 things to remember here. One, you have to remember that there's this constant sort of like difference in your branch compared to what's different on in GitHub. And let's say, like, for example, Rishi came in, committed some stuff to the repo. So for example, let's just say like I came in and I'm going to basically add some code right now. So I'm going to go into a file. So you can do it on here. I don't recommend you do it like this, but if I was to go into the code and I was to basically, let's just say I go into index.js and I edit this file and I say console.log hello, console.log. Oops, I'm so used to having my shortcuts. And then you can say, this change was made on GitHub, right? Now I can commit on here. So basically now what's going to happen is the opposite. I'm going to be ahead on GitHub and my local is going to be like not in sync, right? So I'm going to basically say like commit. So I'm going to say this is a second test commit. And then it's basically saying commit directly. So we just say commit. Now look what happened. So if I go back to the code, now you can see we've got 3 commits and you can see this is my second commit. However, on my code on my local machine, you can see here, one second, why isn't it? Oh yeah, you can see now, we only have what we had before, right? It's not up to date with what's on GitHub. So the way we do this is so remember we talked about a commit. So we talked about committing things, we talked about pushing things, and we also have pulling, so get pull. And what get pull does is you see over here, right? So that's not, yeah, don't listen to that. But now if I go over to get lens, so the way I do it is I'll show you the command line way of doing it. So here, for example, I would say get status. So status is going to basically tell you, are you ahead or are you behind? So in this case, it says it's up to date, but it's not. So basically to make sure you're up to date, just run this command. So you say get pull, okay? Now what this is going to do is you see this, it basically did a bunch of weird stuff and then it said unpacking, blah, 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 and it said fast forward. And basically what this just did is it pulled in the commits. So you see now we've got the changes, right? So what we just went through is how we can make changes on our local and we can push it to the GitHub repo. And we also went through if somebody else makes a change on the GitHub repo, how we can pull in that stuff into our project. So I recommend you go through this a few times. And the 3 fundamentals that we covered here are commits, so how you can commit certain checkpoints and how you can include files. And guys, you can include, in case that you were wondering, if I change both of these files, 2 changes would come up here. You can commit like more than 1 file in one single checkpoint. So which is quite, obviously, like it may have been unclear. But a way that you can basically see the commits just in the command line is if you do get log. So I know like you're thinking, oh my God, how am I going to remember all of this? But like, believe me, it will come to you like once you practice this a few times. You say get log. And now this will show you, so you see it like it says head master. So it's talking about this one. You can see all the commits. You can say initial commit is the first one. So this one, this is a test commit. This is a second test commit, right? So what I recommend is whenever I'm working on a project, and to get out of this, you pretty much do command, wait a minute, Q. Yeah, you press Q. So what I usually do is I always do like when I'm working on a repo that I know somebody else might have been working on, as soon as I come on, I do a git pull and then it says already up to date. right? So just for sanity, right now I'm up to date. I know where I can start from, okay? Now, what we're going to do as a next step now, so we know about how to set up our GitHub and get everything set up. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create basically in this directory, I'm going to say npx, which is like a package manager. I'm going to say npx create React app. And for that, many of you who don't know what this is, I'll quickly give you a run through. So if we go here, so Facebook created a really handy tool, which basically you just run this one command with the name of your app and it sets everything up in the directory that you're in. So right now I'm going to call it to do app. And basically the point is I'm not sure if you can just chuck it in there, but I'm going to call it to do app. And then we're going to have to take all the files and take them out. So we didn't do that.
Yo, Sunny.
Yeah.
So someone asked about the fork. Do you mind explain it too?
Fork. Okay.
Yeah, the fork in the top.
Yeah. So a fork would basically be like, let's imagine right now. So let's go to my GitHub. Yeah. So let's say here. Okay. So if you clone this repo, yeah, you're going to be essentially pulling in a copy of my repo, right? So this one that we've just created. Now, if you commit and push to that repo, it's going to update this repo, okay? So remember, there's a relationship there. So when you clone this repo, it's going to pull in this one. So it's going to be linked to this repo right here, okay? Now, that's obviously it might sound like, yeah, it might sound like what we want, but then the thing is that it means that you're also always going to be making changes to this exact repo, which we might not want. We might want to keep this as a template, right? So what you also have is forking. And what a fork basically does is it's like, so let's say we fork this, you can fork it to whatever repo you want. So right now I have 2 different ones. But say I forked it to tipple.io, so which is, oh God, these are work ones. I'm not going to do that. But if you fork to those repos, basically you're copying that repo, but you're kind of detaching the relationship. So it's a completely separate repo now, which you're the owner now of that repo. Okay. So what tends to happen is, like, say for example, if you're working on like Facebook, you know that React 360 that I talked about earlier. What you would do is you wouldn't actually kind of clone it and work on that one directly. What you do is you fork it, and you fork it with, for example, a slightly different name. So like, say what if you want to add to it, I don't know, let's say like you want to add fireworks to the VR, right? You would fork it and you would say like firework feature or something like that. React 360 firework feature. And what that would basically do is it would create a completely separate repo, which is a complete copy of it still, but it's no longer going to be committing to the actual main repo. So Yusuf, would you say that's correct?
Yeah, that's true. Usually we fork repos for features, or when we want to create another feature of others programs.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so give me one second. Let me see. Okay, nice, cool. I really want to get the chat on here. I don't know why I can't see that. But thank you for pinning that, because I can't see the chat, guys, in case you missed that. Okay, so we have everything built right now, okay? Now, what I want to make sure is, like, obviously we set this up in a different way. So what I would do here is I would press open dot, and basically this will open like the Finder window, and you can see what actually happened is it basically created an app inside of a folder inside of our main folder. So you've got like an embedded app, right? So what I would do here is, just to make life a bit easier, I would pretty much copy this or cut it, to be honest. Well, I would actually just drag it over here. So I'd drag it outside, and then I would, this would pop up. So I'd just click replace. And now what I would do is get rid of the outside folder. So that would basically remove the external folder. So it's at the top level, okay? Now, obviously, what we just did introduced a massive difference to the app. So you can see, like, now we've got all these differences. You see that? Because it's super different now, because now we've got all of the React stuff in here, right? So obviously, this is what we see on the GitHub repo, and this is obviously what we have now. So too many active changes, blah, 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 so ignore that. Okay, yeah, so something you need to do, guys, is also, if you do it this way, you see this is horrible. You don't ever want this to be a problem. So the reason why this happened is because you never ever want to commit your node modules, okay? So node modules are basically, like, whenever we see node modules, you never have to interact with this. But a number one rule is you do not commit node modules, okay? And the way we get rid of that is basically, it's very simple. if you ever see like 500 here, you know that you're committing your node modules. Yeah, so I would go here and I'd right click and then basically, oh, it's not even here. You need to add a git ignore. So in this case, what I usually do is I just right click. Okay, why can't I see a git ignore? So what I would do is you basically go to your diff and then you basically would say add to git ignore. And then what I would do is you would get this little file here, which is called .gitignore, and I basically just do that. So what it will do is it will exclude all of the node modules. So now you'll see if we refresh this, because right now that's horrible and that breaks everything and you shouldn't be doing that. I'm sure that's right. Yeah, node modules, it should work like that. But it's going to basically freak out right now because it's trying to do it for everything. So in this case, what we could do is, there's many ways of setting up a Git repo. I wouldn't have set this up like this, to be honest. But I wanted to go through what I would initially say, guys, is if basically don't create, it's tricky because, okay, no, do it this way, because what I'll do is I'll shoot a loom afterwards about the other way you do it. So I would literally do a create React app, and that will set up a Git repo on your local machine. And then you basically push that into one of these repos that you freshly set up. That's the way I would typically do it. But for the demonstration, I did it this way so that you guys could see. So right now, ignore this changes, it's just being delayed. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna run through our code. So I'm gonna get rid of this. Does anyone have any questions, by the way?
Yes, hello, I'm sorry. I have a question. Why do you not want to commit your node modules?
Okay, that's a really good question. The reason why is because we only want the fundamental pieces of code on our GitHub repo. If we commit node modules, imagine like, so to get React working, right? We need like all these crazy like number of packages. You saw like 5,000 there. And what basically happens is those packages are constantly changing because React add things to it. Like they add different dependencies, they upgrade the dependencies. We don't want to be responsible for any of that. All we want is to have these files, so up to public basically, committed. And then basically what will happen is when you clone clone the repo onto your computer, what you would do is you would do npm install. And what npm install will do, so let's just do this now, I'll show you. So what this will do is it will go to your package.json, and then it will actually look at your package.json and it'll say, okay, you use React, you use React DOM, you use React scripts, and all of this stuff gets set up when you do npx create React app. And basically what it does is then it will install all of the node modules onto your computer, and it will make sure it did it all correctly and make sure it did it all right. And that's why we don't actually want to ever store the node modules, because you can see you get these kind of problems where like you get 5,000 changes. I will shoot a loom on how to do this properly because I didn't really want to demo it like that, but I think it was a good way of showing you how we did the differences from the get-go. Okay, so that's the first step. Now, because this tool's bugging out, I'm going to show you how to do it on the command line now. So basically at this point, remember last time if you weren't here, I show whenever you have a React app, so to get it running, you do npm start. And guys, I'm going to run through this a bit quick so that we can kind of go to the fun stuff. Because all of this is going to be recorded. In the last session, a lot of you guys have finished this stuff, so I want it to be valuable for everyone. So we have this right here. So to get this set up, I want to delete the test files. So you're going to delete this one. I want to delete this one. So delete the setup tests. And then what you want to do is you want to go to your logo, delete that one. So like the big React logo. Get rid of that. Go into index.css, just purge it, get rid of everything. Get rid of this one, so your app.css. Basically get rid of all the styling and everything, and then go into your app component. So app component's where everything sort of starts from. And obviously it's freaking out right now. It's saying, oh my God, you've made some changes and your code can't find files. So we need to get rid of the logo here, and we need to get rid of this one here. So image, you see this? And guys, the reason why I'm going quickly through this is because it is recorded. Like I would recommend that when you do this, you pretty much just slow down the recording and you see what steps I just did there, because you want to get really fast at doing that. So this is like a plain React app now. And then basically what I would do is I'll just say H1 to do app. Okay. So we have our base plate. So now what we're going to do is we're going to code through this together. And we're basically going to, so a lot of you did the homework and you're going to find this sort of just going to be a quick recap. But in React, we have two things. We have state and we have props. State is the short-term memory. Props is how we customize one component from another component. And if you don't know about component-based designs, then I would recommend you watch the lesson before this where we talked a bit more about what component-based design is. Okay, and that's what React is all about. So we write a piece of code once, like a to-do component, and then we render that several times. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first create a to-do component. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to create a to-do. So I'm going to say to-do.js. And now, if many of you guys haven't already, go to your extensions and download something called ES6 JavaScript snippets. Because trust me, this will make your life really nice and it'll save you a lot of pain. So I use this one. So this one here. So go and install this. And what this will do is, let's say we've got a to-do here, right? If I type in RFC, okay, that did not work. One sec, RFC should work, like console log RFC. Oh no, wait a minute, RFC. Oh, okay, it's not working. But basically, if you did RFC, it would actually give you the entire template for your React functional component, which is really annoying. But what I would do is basically, to write a React functional component, you do import React from React. And then you have, so to write a component, you just pretty much give it const, you say to do. It doesn't take any props. So remember guys, if this doesn't make sense, please watch the previous video. Right now, this is just gonna, once you do watch the previous video, this will be a little bit more, will make sense. What we're basically saying here is we're saying we're using React. So pull in React into this file. And then we're saying create a to-do component, which is gonna return some HTML. So in this case, we're gonna return some HTML, which is basically gonna be a div, which says like, this is my to-do. So this is a to-do. And we're basically saying, right, now let other files use this to-do. Okay, so that's basically what I just wrote there. And don't listen to that, that's horrible, what is that? Okay, so now to render this, what we do is we go to app, and then I can import it. So we basically, so you can either import it and then do it, but a quicker way of doing it is if I go here and I just start typing. So if I do to do, you see there right now what popped up, it says to do and it says auto import, right? If I click that, it automatically imported it. So that's just a little shortcut for you guys. And then you do a self-closing tag. And now you can see this is a to-do, okay? And then you can copy and paste this several times and you got loads of to-dos, yeah? So that's how we get our first component. And now for each of the to-dos, we basically want to customize it. So that's where props comes in. So each to-do would have like a title, for example, and that title could be like, it could be anything. So in this case, it could be like, take dogs out. And basically we would have that for each of them. So here, 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 I'll have take dogs out. And then just to make it very quick for you guys, I'm just going to do like take dogs out 2, take dogs out 3, take dogs out 4, take dogs out 5, just to explain the concept of what we're doing here. Now in to do, to basically use this prop, we go into our to do, we put props here. Props are basically properties of a component. So in this case, I'm going to put the to do here. So if you don't know, guys, you can actually drag and drop to split the screen. I'll keep that open so you can see. So this is where the app is running. And right now, what we can do is we can say, so we've got our props here. What we can do is we can say, rather than this is a to do, we can do in curly braces, we can say props.title, okay? And what this is going to do, it's going to take the title here and it's going to basically use it inside of our component. So if I show you that in practice, you can see if I refresh it, there you go. It says take dogs out 2, 3, 4, and 5. So did that make sense? Does anyone got any questions at this point? Okay, cool. So then basically that's how we use props. So that's how we customize all the titles, right? Now, we also need, for example, in that homework, we had an input field. So here I'm going to have an input field. And then basically what that will do is it will basically render, oh, okay, what happened there? Yeah, we have an input field. Then we want a button. So let's have a button here. And let's just say like add to do. So now we have the button. Oh, that's horrible. What is that? Okay, let's just add it after that. There we go, add to do, right? Now, basically, we need to keep track. So right now we type it, we can type here, but we don't know how to get this piece of information, right? So React, we just shown what props are. In React, we also have state. So state is the short-term memory of a single component. So in this case, we need that short-term memory to remember what the input was so that we can use it in functions, we can use it in like in any sort of like logical way that we want, right? So here, the way we set up that is you would have heard of something called React hooks, or you may have heard of something called React hooks. And React hooks basically gives us the ability to use things like state in functional components. So in this case, what we do is we say const, and guys, this syntax is something that it's the same for every single piece of state, okay? Like we write input, and we say set input, and then we say use state, and we put like whatever the initial value of the input field is. So in this case, it's just an empty string. And then what we need to do is, obviously, if we save this, it's going to freak out. It's going to say, hang on, what is use state? So the way we get use state is, if you don't know how to import it, you forget, a little trick is you go to the end of use state and you press Control spacebar, and it'll say auto import from React. So you can see that it actually does the import for you. So in case you guys are like sort of getting confused on that, that's how you do that. And now, the way that you map it, so right now, it's still not being mapped correctly because we've got our input here. The way basically you connect the input field to this is you say value is equal to input. And then you need to basically, so at this point, we've mapped it to that initial value. So here, you can see now it doesn't actually, I'm banging on the keyboard here, nothing's happening. Because we need to tell it, we need to tell React, when I change that input field, update the state. So update the short-term memory with the value as I type it in. Now, how do we do that? We basically go here and we need to say, so there's a very handy function on input fields called onChange. So onChange, so here onChange, and we say E, which is basically the event. Whenever I type, it's like the event that gets dispatched. We say E, and we do an arrow function, and we say set input. So every time I type, set the input to e.target.value. And basically that's saying, now I know you're like, what the heck is that? But like, that's basically gonna get you the input value, okay? So this line of code here is saying, whenever I type, whenever I change the input field, get the event, so set the input, so set the short-term memory that we spoke about to whatever the input field value was. So that's the input field value. So if I save this now, you can see as I type in, it's saving. So now we have access to that in our short-term memory, okay? Now what we need to do is we need to hook up our button to some logic, and we need to do something with it, right? So at this point, I'm gonna have an onClick. So onClick is a button function that's built in. So if you don't know what that is, I recommend going over HTML, sort of HTML and JavaScript fundamentals. But basically onClick is basically saying like, whenever we click it, do something. So in this case, whenever we click it, I'm gonna fire off a function called handle submit. And we need to write that function. So here I'm gonna say, oh, in this case, we'll make it more friendly. We'll say add to do, okay? So here I'm gonna say const add, add to do. And this is gonna be a function, which again, E, it just stands for, whenever you see E, guys, it's literally like, if we're talking about a button, E is gonna be the button itself. When we're talking about, or like the onClick event, in this case, E was the onChange event. So whenever you see E, that's what it means, okay? But whenever we click that, right, what I wanna basically do is just to test that it works in the first place, I'm gonna console log and say boom, and then I'm gonna say input. So I always like to do console logs to test that things work. So in this case, if we open up our inspector, and I basically type in, wow, this is amazing, and I basically press add to do, boom, wow, this is amazing, okay? So now we've hooked up our button to the add to do function, and we console log, boom, whatever the input is. And remember, because we keep track of what the input is by using this right here, that's how we're able to see it there, okay? Now, this is where sort of the next part comes in. Now, I recommend if the next part is gonna go, I'm gonna basically move very swiftly over the next part because it's pretty much how we get it to, how we basically add to the to-do list. I'm not gonna go over the delete today because Rishi and Yusuf made an amazing video on that if you wanna check that out. Because then what I wanna do is I wanna show you how we can add this to a list and then render the list. And then I'm gonna show you how we can actually use something called Firebase to make this whole thing, because right now, if I refresh, well, I mean, right now I'm hard-coded everything in, but if I refresh now, nothing gets, this is just hard-coded in, but we wanna basically be fetching this from a database. And I'll show you how we can do that super easy, okay? So the next part I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another piece of short-term memory called the to-dos. So in this case, to-dos, set, oh, okay, let's just go, yeah, to-dos, set to-dos. And I'm going to use state. So remember, it's the same syntax every time. And initially, our to-dos are going to be an empty array. So we do that. Okay. Now, whenever I press that add to-do button, I want to basically push whatever was in the input field. So guys, this is the point where everyone messes up, okay? They kind of like start running with the code. Whenever you reach this point, just stop and just map out what you want to do. So in this case, what I want to do is when I click that button, I want to add whatever is in my input field, add whatever is in input to the to-dos array. That's the first thing I want to do. And then what I want to do is I want to clear the input field. Okay, so it's 2 steps. That's what we want to do. So step 1 was, step 1 was this. You know what I mean? Step 1 is that, and step 2 is that. Okay, so now what we need to do is code that. So now to do that, we say, at this point, we do set to-dos. So set to-dos. And basically, there's a very cool thing in React called, in JavaScript ES6 called spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to put a new array. So we're going to set the array to whatever the current to-dos are. We're saying spread them out inside the array. So if there was something inside of our short-term memory, it's just going to literally imagine like the array. So the 2 brackets, right? It literally just spreads the contents. So in this case, imagine we had some values inside of here. Like we had ABC, 1, 2, 3. It would literally spread them out inside of this new array. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to also add our input. Okay. Now what this is going to do, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say set input to blank. Now, obviously, this is actually not going to show much on the screen. So if I actually do this and I click add to do, we didn't actually see anything happen. We saw the set input removed, but what you should be doing at this point is sort of console logging to see that what you've set the to-dos as is actually what you want to see. So in this case, what I would do is I'd console log here and then do it like this. So now if I do like ABC, add to do, you can see ABC has been added. And if I do test 1, 2, 3, add to do, now we've got 2 elements in the array. And if I do test 4, 5, 6, oops, okay, that's just whatever that is. Okay, add to do, and you can see now we've got 3 elements in the array. Okay, now we know the array is working now. We know that things are getting pushed in every time. If you don't understand what this is, I recommend looking at spread operators and sort of how you can use them inside of an array. It becomes very clear once you do that. So now we've got that, the fundamental working. Now we need to actually, rather than hard coding, we need to map out, we need to go through that array, and for every item in the array, just pretty much say what the to-do was. And the way we do that in ES6 is we say to-dos dot map. So there's 2 powerful functions here, right? So take note of these. We have map and we have a for each. A for each is basically going to go through every item in the array, and you can do something with it. You can console log, you can do whatever you want. The difference between a for each and a map is the same thing, but in React, a map is very useful because from a map, you can return something every time. So in this case, what we want to do is, because we're returning like some HTML here, we want to map through our to-dos. So we're going to say for every single to-do, so basically, yeah, for every single to-do, we're going to say return, and I'll show you a shortcut for this after. You can say return, and what we're going to do is we're going to render a to-do, and we're going to say the title of that to-do is going to be the to-do that we're looping through. So remember that list here. Every time we loop through, ABC is going to be the first to-do, test 1, 2, 3 is going to be the second to-do, test 4, 5, 6 is going to be the third to-do. So now if I do this, you can see now, look, take dogs out for a walk, add to-do. There you go. Test 1, 2, 3, add to-do. There you go. Okay, so we map through, and basically it's going through that array that we're pushing into, and then it's returning this this to-do every time. So basically that's how we're mapping them out, okay? Now, ES6 is very nice. It means that like if we have a 1-line piece of code here, we don't actually need to say return. What we can do instead is we can actually just get rid of these curly brackets. You see this one and this one. We can get rid of those. And instead, we can just get rid of the return. And we can get rid of that. And we can just save. And then Prettier will add these little. So if you add normal brackets, so parentheses, it will do just an implicit return where you don't have to say that it's returning something. So in this case, it still works. We say test 1, add to do, test 2, add to do. Okay. Now, obviously, we want it to work when I hit the enter key. Right now, it doesn't do anything when I hit the enter key. Okay. Now, the very quick way, and it's kind of a hack, if anything, and it works really nicely, is that you basically surround. So this is our input and button. So these things right here, we're going to surround it in a form. So I do an empty form, and I put the contents of this inside of my form. Okay, so we do that. And then the magic which makes it work is very simple. You just go to your button and you change the type of your button to submit. Okay, and now what we can do is, you can see it now if I do test 1, 2, 3, because the type it's in a form and it knows that that's the submit button. Boom, there you go. ABC. Oh, oops, what happened there? Oh, okay, so this is an important thing, right? So what happened here is I've done ABC1 and I submit. Now, forms, naturally, when you submit on normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, refresh the web page. In React, we hate refreshing the web page. So basically, what we need to say is when you submit, basically, when you do that on click, which triggers the add to do function, you need to say e.prevent default. And this is basically saying, hang on, we're using React, like don't refresh the web page because we know what we're doing. So we're basically overriding it and saying, don't do that. Instead, do what I'm saying. So in this case, if I do ABC1, ABC2, ABC3. Now, guys, you also see there's a warning here about key props. What that basically means is in React, whenever you have like a list that's rendering out to the screen, right? You need to basically give it a key, because basically the way React renders components is, especially if you've got like a list of things, it's very clever. React is a really clever like a library. So it only re-renders what it needs to re-render. So let's say we have a list of 1,000 things, right? If you don't give those elements in that list keys, every time one of those things change in that list, the entire thing is going to re-render, because React's like, I don't know which one's which. I don't know which, like, is that the same as that one? I have no idea. So I'm just going to re-render the whole thing, right? But if you gave every single element a key, yeah, then it knows that, right, the element in that list of 1,000 to-dos, the one with that key is the one that changed. So only re-render that one key. So let's say we have 3,000 to-dos for some reason, right, or 3,000 messages, and somebody edits one message. You don't want to re-render 3,000 messages. You just want to re-render that one message, which is why the keys are so important, right? So in this case, keys should be anything which is unique, okay? Now, in this case, you shouldn't, I mean, I'm against this, but I think in this case we can do it. But like, if you ever use a map, what you can do is the first parameter is the item that you're looping through. So in this case, it's the to-do. And if you put a comma, it says, you see it says index, okay? So index in this case for the first element would be 0, for the second element would be 1, and the third would be 2. And if you don't know why it starts at 0, in coding, we start from 0 when we count, okay? So this will give you an index. And then if you basically write key I, this is basically going to say, this is the index. So this is the unique key for this, right? The reason why I don't like doing this is because it actually goes against what you should be doing. And I'll explain that another time. But you'll see now, if I do this, we get rid of that error. Because now it knows very cleverly. So before it was re-rendering all 3 of these every time I added something. Now it's not re-rendering. So if I add a 4th element now, it's not going to re-render these 3 things. It's only going to re-render the 4th onto it. So if I do ABC4, and there you go. Now that may not seem like a big deal, but when we've got thousands and thousands of things on the page, you do not want your React app re-rendering every single time. So say, for example, the Facebook Messenger bot, we don't want, like, as soon as one person messages, because imagine it goes crazy, right? And we've got thousands, like loads of people messaging at one time, then you're going to constantly be re-rendering your app and it just gets crazy for no reason. So you want it to be optimal. And in React, things can get very out of hand if you don't ignore those messages, is my point. Yeah.
Sonny, I just want to mention that Dina made another solution about the enter key. I mean, okay. She didn't put it in the form. She just checked if the input key, if the key pressed is 13, which the same as enter, and she called the function to do again.
Yeah, so you can do it this way. You can, and actually that's the way I used to do it as well. The reason why I prefer using a form is because it's very simple. Like, it's very simple to understand that this is a form, and when the submit functionality of that form is mapped to the button, right? But if you can have it a different way, I can't remember the exact syntax, but it's something like on key press, and then you basically check for the key code, which in this case, enter is 13 that Yusuf said. It was 13, right? Yeah. Yeah, you basically have a listener which listens to when you enter the key. The thing is, there's side effects to it. There can be side effects. So if you map, if you don't always want to basically be watching if they're pressing enter, because you can have enter in different areas of the page, right? We only want enter to have an effect on this sort of field. And also another little neat trick is that, for example, right here, it's not adding an extra to do, but if you want to disable the button here, all you need to do is go here, say button disabled, and you can basically say if there is no input. So it's basically checking if there's like, so this would say if there's input, and this is saying if there's no input. So if there's no text in that thing, you see it disables the button until we've had some input. Okay, so that's a nice little trick. So a lot of you guys got to the point where you had an app like this, okay? If you didn't, I recommend you do the homework and you basically go forward with that. And especially for the delete functionality, I would recommend you check out Yusuf and Rishi's video because it's very, very useful. But for now, what we're going to do is we set up a GitHub repo. So right now, I would actually recommend that you committed at smaller points. So when you created the to-do component, I would have committed then saying added to-do component and so forth. But I'm going to show you now how we can push this code to our GitHub repo. So you see here, this is what we have in GitHub. So remember, it's out of date, right? We want to basically don't do it from this because remember I told you it completely freaked out when it thought the node modules were in there. So right now, the way we do this is we can open up a terminal and here we can say git status, okay? Now git status is gonna say, right, you've got some stash files. Oh God, okay, this is not very nice. Okay, yeah, so these are the files which are already on GitHub. So you can see README and index. Now these ones, it says modified this, deleted that file. So these are the ones that come up at the top. It would tell you if files were already there and if one was modified and one was deleted. So to get to this, I done git status, just if you didn't see that. And then it would show you untracked files. Untracked files are new files, okay? So basically what we need to do now is firstly, we need to stage these files. And the way we can do that is we can say git add dot is basically saying git add all of these files to my next commit, okay? So if I do this, and then I do git status, now you can see, look, it's basically added all the files to my next commit. So it says changes to be committed, okay? Now, I know this is super ugly and it makes you think like, oh my God, I don't know really what's going on here. But you'll get so used to doing git status, git log, git commit, git push, git pull. And the more, I honestly recommend that you just go through this video and keep practicing this and you will eventually get to a point where this will feel like a second nature to you. And then basically once it's all green, you want to say git commit. And then basically you say -m to basically write a message. And here I would basically put something like, in this case, it's a very bad commit. I'll just say created to do app. Yeah, but what you want to do is you want to have these context specific. So I would have basically added the files that I wanted. And remember, if this wasn't bugging out, I would have done it with this. So you could have basically clicked all the to-do component stuff and it made the commit message which said, added the to-do component. And in that commit, it would just had the files for the to-do component. And then you can commit that, commit other things. But in this case, we're just going to commit the create to-do app. So we did that and it committed it. And then remember to push this up to the main GitHub repo, we click git push. And now watch what happens, guys. So not only did the README change, but if I do this now, look at that. So the README changed because this was created with create React app. And you can also see now we've got all the code and look, it was all part of the create to do app commit, which is, again, is not a good thing. You shouldn't do it in one commit. You should have very small frequent commits that are more meaningful because right now, if I wanted to roll back, I only have the option of rolling back to what I had previously, which was pretty empty, or to where I'm at now. So that's the whole purpose of why you want to commit frequently and do it like more like, just more frequently, because then you have more points that you can roll back to. So imagine you're playing a video game and like you're super far in the level and then you die and then you didn't get a checkpoint. You'd be like, God damn it, I need to do all this again. So the whole point, it happens the same thing when you're doing your coding. Like if you are coding and then something goes terribly wrong and you've committed like just at one point, you can only roll back to this point. And at this point, this is what the code looked like. We only had like 2 files in the sort of repo, which is, it's not a good thing to be, it's not a good place to be at, okay? So now we're going to talk about the actual fun stuff that I really wanted to talk about today, which is Firebase. So we pretty much got to this point in your homework. And I would recommend for every single person that didn't do the homework, please, 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 because there's 60 people in the school right now, and we only had like 16 submissions, okay? So I want to see like 40, 50 at least next time. Like everybody give this a try, because it can be scary, it can be freaky, but that we have this community of amazing developers. Throw questions if you get stuck. If things aren't working, throw questions. I would really recommend you do it in REPL. So if you, there's instructions on how to do that. Yusuf dropped a really good Loom on that. So I recommend you watch that. But basically, REPL will set this whole environment up for you, and you can actually even connect GitHub to REPL. So it's actually very powerful in that sense. But okay, the next step is I'm going to show you Firebase. So everybody who hasn't used Firebase before, this is where you really pay attention, because Firebase is amazing, okay? So let's go to firebase.com. So firebase.google.com. And now I'm going to log into my Clever Programmer account. So I've got a Firebase account with Clever Programmer. So I'm going to click Go to Console. So if you haven't got an account, so you can pretty much use your Gmail account. So if you don't have a Gmail, set a Gmail up and then click Go to Console. And now you see I have like a Facebook Messenger demo, CP leaderboard. In this case, I'm going to go Add Project, okay? And here you just put a project name. So in this case, I'm going to say To-Do App, okay? I'm going to click Continue. And this, you can just enable this by default. In this case, it's not going to do any damage. I'll just click Enable. And then, okay, actually, I'm going to disable that 1 second, because I don't want to start submitting analytics to our Clever Programmer stuff. So yeah, so you can disable that, and then it will create the project. So just a quick outline of what Firebase is it's an amazing set of tools that Google provides us. It manages authentication, it manages database stuff. So anything database related, use Firebase. And it uses like, it lets you host things like, so yeah, I can show you here. So it handles authentication, handles database, handles storage, hosting. This is called, so you may have heard of something called AWS Lambdas, which is like cloud functions. Google has their own version. This is basically like a cloud function. And guys, I can't wait to teach you this stuff, because like when you learn how this works, you can write one function, okay? Deploy it to like the cloud. So I'm saying the cloud to make it super easy to understand. You can deploy it to the cloud. You will get an endpoint. So like what we call an endpoint, like basically, it's like an internet link, right? And then all you need to do on your app to ping things to that function is just make a request to that link. So I know it sounds like, okay, something you're getting super excited over like a little function here, but when I say that's so powerful, imagine you created like a function which did a bunch of complicated things and then gave you like back 10 different translations in every single language you wanted. You can send as much traffic to that. You can have 1 million requests to that, and Google are going to completely handle it. They're going to scale everything. They're going to do it all. Previously, if I asked you to do that in a normal app with Express, you're going to be like, oh, okay, like I need to run it on my local machine. This is all production ready. Like when I say production ready, once you learn this stuff once, you can go into a company, build a project, and it will just scale. So if you had 10 customers on the first day and 10 million on the second day, everything's going to work, which has never been a possibility in the past. And that's why I really recommend everyone learns Firebase. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to go to database. What we're going to do, there's 2 types of database here. There's one called the real-time database, and there's one called Cloud Firestore.
Hi, Sony. I have question one.
Yep.
So is the functions which you are saying,
Yep.
if we write some code on that, only it will interact with the Firebase database, not with the, means to do some automation, that function, Lambda functions which you are trying to say.
Yeah, so can you just repeat the question? It was a little bit confusing. Just repeat that one more time.
Yeah, means the functions which is in the Firebase data, means Firebase console.
Yep.
When we write any code on that, so it will try to interact with the component of the Firebase only.
Kind of. Yeah, it will basically, think of it as literally just think of a JavaScript function in the cloud that you can just constantly reach. Think of it that way, and literally don't complicate it more than that. You can pass it parameters just like you pass a normal function, and it can and it will give you a result as a normal function, like as a normal function would. That's literally the easiest way to think of it. Beyond that, we start getting into networking and stuff, so we can talk about that later. But to answer your question very simply, it's pretty much just a function that Google hosts in the cloud, gives you a link to basically reach that function, and then you can do everything that a normal function does.
Okay, that's great. Now, one more question. What is the difference between this Cloud Firestore and Cloud Real-Time Database? Which is?
Yeah, so I was going to explain that just now. So you have two types of database here, guys. You have the real-time database and you have Cloud Firestore. So real-time database came first, so which is why like it's a super cool database. And the point is, it was basically a MongoDB kind of database, which we call a NoSQL database, which means it doesn't use SQL. And the way you store information in a NoSQL database is called JSON, which stands for like JavaScript Object Notation, which is basically like, it's like a massive JavaScript object just plopped in a database, okay? Now, that's very flexible. You can decide however you want to store things in that database. But when you have a massive, just think of a massive JavaScript object. That's literally your whole database, right? There's limitations to that. How do you search for things? How do you index like and check where something is in the database? You can't really do stuff like that. You have to custom code like searching, or you have to use like a framework to do that. Now, the guys over at Google saw like that they basically, what was really cool about the real-time database is they gave you that database and then they made it real-time, which means that once you set it up, if you change anything in that database, or if somebody sends a message, it gets updated in real time on your app, and you barely have to do much to get that working. So that was a really cool benefit of what the real-time database did. But they realized that you couldn't do things like querying. So you see here, powerful queries. You couldn't query your data. You couldn't say, go to the user Sunny and get a picture of his profile picture. You couldn't do that, okay? You'd have to custom code some stuff to do that. So they built this Cloud Firestore. So when it comes to this decision, always choose Cloud Firestore, because it is the one that it's the newer database with the upgraded stuff. It's got all the cool stuff inside of it. Now, when we create the database, you get these two options. You get start in production mode, start in test mode. So we're going to click start in test mode. Don't worry about this message. It's just, we can discuss what rules are another time. Click next. And then you basically want to just base wherever you're based. If you're in the US, I'll click US, Europe, West. It doesn't matter, to be honest. We can keep it in the US for now. And then you click OK. Now, what this is doing is it's setting up a database on Google servers. Okay. Now, guys, when I tell you how simple this is unbelievably simple. But in the next 20 minutes, we're going to have a whole database. We're going to have to-dos connected to that database, and everything's going to be real time. It's going to be like in 20 minutes, that was all going to be done. Okay. Which is pretty insane. Like if you've ever worked with Express, then you would know that it would take a long time. You'd have to set up your ports and all sorts of stuff. But in this case, we have our database set up. So this is a database, and the way a database is structured, okay? So I'm not going to go too far into what Firestore, how it structures its database, but you have collections, which are basically like an example collection would be something like users, okay? And then I'm just going to do like a quick sort of test here. So like, yeah. So in this case, we've got a user, and so user, yeah, we've got a user, and then you've got like a list of users. So you have collection, document. Oh, no, sorry, you have collection, document, and then you have collection. So basically the way it works is we don't need to go into like, oh, what is collection, what is document just yet. Just know that you have like a collection of users, which is basically saying we have a list of users. This is one of those users, and he has name Yusuf. And if I want another user, I go add document, and in this case, auto ID, name. You want to keep the fields consistent, and then let's say Rishi, okay? So now we have two users. We have one Yusuf, one Rishi, okay? So you can, depending on your context, so in this case, users didn't really make sense. We've got a to-do list app, okay? So I'm going to delete this collection. So I'm going to say get rid of that.
There's a couple questions in the chat that look important.
Okay.
One is like, is this exclusive to single page apps?
Yeah, let me, let's have a look. So let me.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, thank you for that. So let's have a look. So we've got, hi, Sunny, I have to leave now. Okay, I'll catch up. Nice. It's amazing. Okay, lunch break. For some reason, I'm able to. Is this exclusive to single page apps? Would we want to go back to Express once we wanted a multi-page site? No. Okay, so firstly, remember guys, just think of it on a simple level, okay? So don't get mixed up with single page apps and this and that. Like, it's literally a database that we can connect to a plain HTML, CSS, JavaScript website, or we can connect to a React website. It's literally, it's just a database hosted somewhere that we can connect to, okay? Now, to have a multi-page site, so I know what you're saying here, a single page site is one page, right? But no, in React, you can have like a site which has multiple pages on it. You use something called React Router to do that. But we're not going to go into that today. But to answer your question, just read up on what a single page app can do, and then look at something called React Router. And that will allow you to have multiple pages on your website. So if we look at Instagram quickly, very quickly, the guys, Rishi and that sort of mentioned this last time. So if we go to Instagram.com, and you can see like right now you have Instagram, right? And then say I click on a friend's...
You're not sharing.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm not sharing. There you go. So if we go into Instagram, and like right now I've got like, here's like a friend's profile. So you can see this is built in React, okay? So if we check, this page is using the production build of React. So Instagram uses React, awesome, okay? Now, this is my React account. So if we go to, like you see here, like this is a single page app, guys. And if I click on this right now, this is my friend's account. You can see like it goes to his, like, you see this is a separate page. And the way we do that is using something called React Router, most likely. But there's so many ways you can do this, but one way of doing it is using React Router. So when we say single page app, we don't necessarily mean one page. I just wanted to clear that up, okay? So you can have several pages on a single page app. What it means is it delivers the entire app in one go, okay? That's kind of how it works, okay? And then you can have like very clever things called lazy loading and things like that, which basically means it only delivers what it needs to deliver until you reach those pages, but that gets a bit more complicated as we go into it. So I want to carry on while we're on track with this, because I don't want it to go too long. So we have a database now, okay? Now we're going to create a collection called to-dos. And in this, we're going to click auto ID, and we're going to basically call our to-do. Remember, we called the prop title. So let's keep it consistent, okay? And let's say the value of that to-do was take the dogs out for a walk. Take the dogs out for a walk. Yeah? We're going to save. So now we've got our first to-do in here. I'm going to click another one. Auto, and remember, we want to keep the title consistent. And here I'm going to say, teach a React Live coaching call or something. Yeah, save. So now we've got two to-dos, okay? Now, how do we connect this to our React app, right? Like, obviously, we've got this cool database, and yeah, it's all like very nice over here, but how do we actually get this working in our app? We're going to go over to our app, and it's very simple here now, guys. So NPM is what we call, NPM is basically a node package manager. So it's a way of us pulling in projects that other people have done. So we use that to basically pull in React in the beginning, but we used it in a different way. But the way we're going to do now is we want to use Firebase code, right? So Firebase have a package called Firebase, naturally. And the way we bring that into our app is super simple. All we do is we say npm install --save. And for now, don't worry about what --save means, but just remember, always include it, okay? Because what it does is it adds it to your package JSON, which means when you commit it to your GitHub repo and somebody pulls, remember I said your node modules aren't saved on your GitHub repo. When they pull it and they do an npm install, because you said save, it will basically be listed in something called the dependencies, which means that it will then, when they do an install, it will be included in the npm modules. Otherwise, if you don't do a --save, it won't actually be there, and they'll get an error saying, hang on, we don't have Firebase, okay? So I'm gonna do npm install save, and I'm gonna just say Firebase. So this, enter. And now we're installing all of the Firebase dependency code into our project, yeah? So like it's honestly that simple, okay? And npm, if you can't get npm running, you have to set up things like Node, but we can create a Loom, and if somebody has a problem with that, just drop it in the community and somebody will ping a Loom over and we can pretty much get a video recording showing you how to do that, okay? Okay, so let's just wait until that's done. Nice.
Hi, Sonny. I have just one question. Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, actually, I have also done a very basic project with Firebase, and I didn't use npm with installing package. What I did was, there was a in Google there was a some kind of code which tried to go and fetch, and I did with the real-time database. So is it different from these packages,
Right.
or when we?
So yeah. So you're saying is the real-time database different from these packages, right?
Hmm.
No. So actually, we just installed Firebase, which was all of the dependencies. So actually, we pulled in. So this dependency that we just installed actually has the real-time database in. It has Firestore. It has all of the things that we need. But the difference is React's really clever. Whatever we import. So if I do this, if I say import Firebase from Firebase, yeah. Now, what this is going to do, that's actually not the best way of doing it. But in this case, don't stress too much. Just do it like this. This is going to pull in every single piece of code like that from Firebase, and it's going to give you it in an object. There's a very efficient way of doing it. But basically, say if I just wanted the database, and let's say the database was like DB or something, right? Then it's only going to use the database module from Firebase. And when it packages your app and like when you sort of deploy it and do all those sort of things, it's going to strip out all the stuff it doesn't need. And we call that a concept called tree shaking, yeah, which we don't need to know about just yet. But tree shaking is basically where it cleverly goes through all the things that you use. So even if you installed like 10,000 dependencies for some reason, but you only chose to import 5, it's basically going to tree shake. So it's going to get rid of all the sort of dependencies it doesn't need and only package the stuff it needs, okay? So it's a bit clever on that front, but that's just to answer your question. When we do this, from this object, yes, I can access the real-time database.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now here's a little cheat code for you guys. Okay. So I've created like a little snippet file, which I always use. I reuse this all the time in my projects, and it's pretty much going to benefit you guys. So I recommend you take note now. Create a new file called Firebase. So call it firebase.js. And over here we have that plain file. So we have it here. And basically, what we want to do is we're going to say import Firebase from Firebase. So we're basically saying, right, give me the Firebase like stuff. And then what we want to do is we need a variable. So basically this snippet of code right here is like your cheat code, okay? So this tiny little piece of code, yeah, like, and don't worry about this for now. But basically what we need to do is this function here. So what we're saying is we're saying, get me a variable called Firebase app and set it to this, which is basically saying go to Firebase and initialize an app, okay? Now, all we need to do here to basically make the connection between Firebase and our app is pass it an object, which is like all of our sort of credentials, okay? So obviously at this point, guys, I'm gonna put my credentials on the screen. So just don't copy them, otherwise I'm gonna get billed like a hell of an amount, and I'm gonna have to like change this and be careful about this. But the way you get your credentials is once you set up your account, go to this little cog, go to project settings, go down to is where it says your apps, okay? And remember Naz's tutorial was quite tough when you needed to get your key for the Google Maps API. This is super simple, okay? This is so easy, it's super simple. And all you need to do is go over to this web one. So this web, you click it, give your app a nickname, so to do app. Click this, so also set up Firebase hosting. And I'll show you how we're going to do that afterwards. So I'm going to show you how we can even deploy this. So it's on a live website. And I want you to include the links in your homework so I can access your website. If you do that part of the homework, then click register app, okay? Now, the next steps, so once that's done, so this stuff, you don't need to worry about this. This is talking about if you're using plain JavaScript. We've done an npm install Firebase, so we don't need to do this, okay? We don't need to install the SDK. We've already done it with npm modules. We don't need to do, oh, okay, we do need to do this. I've already installed this on my machine, but basically what we want to do is if you open up your terminal, okay, for many of you guys that don't know, right, whenever we do something like npm install, okay, so whenever we do something like npm install, it means that you're installing into that local directory. So for that project, install this module. That's what's happening when you do an npm install. Now, we also might want to basically install like dependencies that we can use across several projects. Yeah, so we call that a global install. Yeah, And this is really important to know that whenever, and trust me guys, only use a global dependency, or only install a global dependency if you absolutely have to. Don't go around like doing -g react, because I'm telling you, you're going to run into all sorts of problems where your dependencies are out of sync and stuff like that. So don't do that. So right now, we want to have access to Firebase tools regardless of where we are on, if we're in this project or that project. We just want it accessible on our command line. Yeah. So the way we do is we basically say npm install Firebase tools. I've already installed it, so I mean, it might just like upgrade my dependency. That's what typically happens when you do that. So basically you do that, let that run. Oh yeah, so exactly. So in this case, if it says permission denied, what I would say is you basically just need to write sudo, oh no, sudo permission denied. Say sudo npm install -g Firebase tools. Okay, I'm not going to do it again, but basically sudo would then ask for your password. You'd enter your password, and then you get the permission to install it. Okay. Sudo is like saying, as a supercomputer, as a super user, install it. Okay. It's basically like saying that. So after you do that, you will have Firebase tools. And then what you need to, so ignore this for now. I'll show you this afterwards. Okay. So you just click through next. And then what you want to do is you'll have this web app now. So ignore all of this stuff. Just go to this config and you basically get this object. Okay. I want you to copy this stuff inside this object. Go back to your React app. So in case you guys missed that, pretty much it's literally this object here. So where it says Firebase config, right? You want to copy that. So remember, not this stuff outside, just whatever's inside the object. Copy that and put it inside of this and make sure that it's an object, okay? Oh, and you want to not do that. Okay, so then you have this. So now what we've said is, using the Firebase module that we installed, initialize the app with these credentials. Okay, and this is all connected to your Firebase account. And then what we do is we say const db, so you can call this whatever you want. I call it db, which refers to the database. And then we say Firebase app, because that's the variable that we basically, this is referring now to like an initialized app. Okay, so we say Firebase app dot Firestore. And you see the little square little box there, it says that it's a function. So basically you need to invoke the function. Okay. Now, this variable is like a super powerful, ridiculously powerful variable where it just does so much stuff behind the scenes. I can't even explain how it does it, but I will show you how we use it. Okay, and that's all we need to care about is how we use that little variable now. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to export it. So you say export db. So pretty much you could do that, and then whenever you import it, you could do it like that, or you could do export default db, which means that you don't actually have to worry about the sort of importing name. Okay, so in this case, we're going to do export default db. And now what we're going to do is, because remember we exported it over here, what I can do now is I can go over to our app and I basically just pull it in. So I say import db from, and you have to locate the file. So to locate the file, you do the syntax, you do dot / which basically is in this directory, the Firebase file. Now guys, like this is the real incredible bit that like obviously like everyone's gonna get a bit excited about. But, like what we need to do now is we need to basically replace our, we need another step here, which basically maps our database contents to our, which maps our database contents to our to-dos state here, okay? So basically we need to connect the two, right? Now there's a hook for that because there's a hook for everything. I promise you, like hooks are the best thing in the world. And there's a very powerful hook called useEffect, okay? Now useEffect is a hook which basically its purpose is to, think of it this way, while you're learning it, its purpose is to run this piece of code when that component loads, okay? And basically you can do more powerful things. You can make it so that it relies on the dependency, and when that variable changes, it runs the code again. But in this case, what we're gonna do is we need to import useEffect from React. And we need to go here and we basically write useEffect. And then it basically has two things in here. It has function and it has a dependencies, okay? And that's basically what the two things are gonna have. So these are just like placeholders for now. But it has a function which basically is gonna get executed when the app loads. So when this component loads, it's gonna do whatever's inside this function. And then inside the dependencies part, we pass in an array, okay? So if we only want this to run once, and we only do want this to run once because we want to set up a listener only once, okay? We want it to set this listener up once, so that way when we set it up once, it's going to be real-time connected. If we don't have anything here, it's just going to, every single time it re-renders, it's going to run this function, which means that imagine like the app re-renders as you type in, it sets up another listener, another listener, another listener. I'm telling you, your computer is going to blow up because you're going to keep setting up listeners, okay? So here, you basically put an empty array, which basically says this empty array, you don't need to know why it does this just yet, okay? Just practice using it first, and then you can look into what it does at a more granular level. But basically, this empty array says, when the app component loads, run it once and don't run it again, okay? So here we're gonna say a function, so an arrow function, that's ES6. And then basically here, so we can test this, we can say, I ran when the component loaded, okay? And then if we go over to our app, now, if I refresh, so as soon as the app component loads, we expect it to say, I ran when the component loaded, okay? And then remember, when as soon as I type in, that code never gets executed again. So it runs once when it loads, and that's it, okay? So let's go back. And now here, what we need to do is, so I'm gonna give a snippet of code here, which is gonna do what we want it to do. And then I'm gonna maybe drop a loom explaining this code very, very like in fine detail afterwards. But the magic here is we say DB. So this is like the thing which makes everything work now, okay? We're gonna say, oops, okay, what happened there? I'm gonna say, get rid of this. I'm gonna say DB dot collection. And do you remember that collection that we wrote in Firebase? So this one, so if we go to the database, so if your collection, our collection is called to-dos. So in this case, we're gonna say, so there we go. You can see like, here's the database. So you can say database.collection. We're gonna say to-dos. So it's gonna find this collection. And then we're gonna say dot. So you see, it gives us all these like functions that are built into that dependency, okay? The one that we care about so much, and it's gonna change your life when it comes to coding, is called onSnapshot. Yeah, so onSnapshot basically says, get a live snapshot of whatever's in that inside of that collection, and basically anytime it changes, refire. So what onSnapshot is called a listener, okay? And what we do here is we say, we put the brackets and we basically say snapshot. So every time it fires, it's going to give us the snapshot, okay? And the snapshot is basically this right here. So it's basically like, this part here. So every time it changes, it's going to give us this again. Okay, so if I change this in the database, it's going to fire off and we're going to get a new snapshot. So, oops, yeah, we're going to get a new snapshot. Okay, so we're going to say snapshot. And then here, what we say is, remember, so every time it changes, this is going to get fired off, this piece of code. So anything in here is going to get fired off. So what we do now is we say set the to-dos, okay? And this is going to take some time to understand exactly what I've done here. But remember, whatever we put inside of here is going to just update our piece of state now. This is a bit where everyone needs to pay attention. So here we say snapshot dot, and then you see you've got a bunch of things. We're going to say docs. Now docs is referring to the docs here, okay? So we're saying from that live snapshot, get the docs, and then we're going to say dot map. So remember I said map is when we go through a list and we return some stuff. So I'm going to say dot map, and then I'm going to have this. And then basically what you need to say is for every single doc, so every single list here, so this list of things here, for every single doc, I want you to return the data inside of it, okay? And the way we do this is we do an implicit return. So remember, you can either have this and you can say return some stuff, or you can just remove these brackets here. But the point is you're going to basically say return doc.data like this. And what this is going to do, it's going to basically go through every single list here, right? It's going to get this as an object. And this is, by the way, doc.data. So in case that wasn't clear, doc refers to this each time we go through it, each different doc here. The data refers to, so it's a function, you saw that little square box. The data refers to this stuff inside of it. So if you had 6 things in here, this would return the 6 things in an object. Yeah, okay? Now, what happens in this map? So this line of code is something which I need you guys to just practice and understand. And the way you're going to do that is figure out what a map does, figure out how you use a map, and then this will make a lot of sense, okay? And basically what this is doing is it's basically bubbling up. So it's going through here, getting an object, putting it inside an array, going here, bubbling up, getting an object, putting it inside that array. And then at the end of this, we have an array, and I'm setting that to be the to-dos inside of our state, okay? And then this piece of code gets fired off every time the snapshot changes, okay? So that was a lot to take in, but what I'm gonna show you now is the magic of what we just did. So remember guys, like initially, so if I go to our app now, I haven't saved my code yet, yeah? So I haven't saved it, that's why it's bugging out. If I click save now, look at this. So it's gonna connect, oh, okay, that's not good. Let's have a look, let's debug it. So we say snapshot docs map, doc data. So what I would do here is I would console log, and I'll just check that what I'm doing here is actually the right thing. So before we try and set it, and this is how you debug guys, like, so you go here and you can see it's giving me 2 objects back, and the first object is a title, the second one is, so you see it's actually going to the database and getting me this stuff, yeah? But right now what's happening is we're not actually bringing it back in the right format. So here, what we actually need to do is, remember here we were passing in just strings. So it was like ABC, 1, 2, 3, like this, for example, right? When we were adding it. But right now I've passed back an object. So I'm passing back objects. We don't want to do that, okay? So the way we can get around this issue is when we do the bubbling up process. So here, what we can do is we can say doc.data, which is basically going to go here, but we can say bubble up the title field. So we're going to say go here and get the title field and bubble up that, and then that gets stored in an array. So now if I do this and I save and refresh, whoa, we have a real-time connection. So right now, that one line of code, so literally this line of code has set up everything you need now. So what I'm going to show you is a real cool demo now. So like say we've got the database here. So now if I add it to the adding to do bit, we need to add, but like say for example, if I add something manually in here now, so let's say title, and let's just say like, wow, this just worked, right? Now, if as soon as I click enter, watch what happens. So look down here, watch what happens. If I click save, it pops in, yeah? Which is awesome, right? Like, and everyone's like, oh shit, like that's pretty cool. Like from one line of code, we just got that working, right? So it popped in a random location because it sorts by the IDs, and the IDs can be random. What I'd recommend is you add like a timestamp and you can sort it by that, etc. But we're not going to worry about that today. But what we're going to do is we're going to change our add function so that when we type in here, it pushes basically what I did manually over here. And to do that is so much simpler than you think. So, and it's going to take 2 seconds. So we basically go to our add to do. Rather than doing this piece of code, I'm basically going to swap this line of code out for our database version. So we're going to say database.collection. And remember, it's inside the to-dos collection. And we're going to say add. So literally add a document inside the to-dos collection. And basically we need to pass it an object. And inside that object is going to be title, because remember we had the title here that we're passing in, right? So we're going to say pass it in the title, and the value of it, so in this case it was wow, this just worked. The value is going to be our input, because our input is what we have inside of this, okay? Now, if I save this, literally that one step is all we needed to do to get this working now. So if I go here and I say like, wow, this is so cool, and I basically enter, there you go, okay? So like we're pushing into a live database now. And if you don't believe me, we can go here and we can basically see, if I do it again and say like test ABC, see that? It just popped in at the top, right? So we have this live connection. And then I don't know how many of you guys actually tried the homework in terms of okay, so I'm not gonna actually go through the delete right now because there's one thing I just thought of. But I'm gonna basically drop a loom, and it's as simple as that. The delete is, you see how quick that was to get that working, right? The delete is exactly just as quick, but we have to work with something like an ID. So we have to basically pass in this ID, and then we basically delete by ID. And it's as simple as doing this, guys. I promise you, it's literally like, if you want to have a delete, it's like db.collection to-dos dot doc, and then we basically put the ID here. So I'll show you how we do that later on. I'll drop a Loom video after this. And then you literally just write delete. Okay, so like you would hook that up to a button, and then when you press that button, it will delete it from the database. And then the real-time stuff, everything maps and it does everything correctly. So that's pretty much like how we get an entire day. And now you can see, like, even if I refresh, it's got our live to-dos, okay? Which is awesome. Now the final piece on top of this, like, and I promise it's gonna take like literally like 5 minutes to show you now, is I wanna deploy this. I wanna make this live on a website, okay? So I basically just need to do a very quick step here. I just need to do, so I installed the Firebase CLI tools. So here I just need to do Firebase init, so which means init Firebase in this directory. I press that, and Firebase has a really nice like command line interface. So you see it comes up all like very fancy and stuff. And then here, all you need to do is go down to hosting, press the space bar to make sure that it's doing it, okay? And then you press enter, and then it'll say, right, use an existing project. So I'm gonna click enter. And then you see you basically just use the arrow keys. I go to the to-do app, enter. And then here, so this is a step that you need to be careful with. So what do you want to use as your public directory? Here, you got to type in build, because React, when we build it, it goes into a build folder. So you need to type in build here. And then here, configure all the apps. Configure as a single page app, you put Y because it's a React app, so yes. And then that's it, okay? So like we just done that little quick initialization and it's done. Now to build our React app, so yes, it's running locally here, but to build it, what we need to do is we write npm run build. And what this will do is it will build up basically everything inside of source, and it pops it like a basically, look, you see this, it says creating an optimized production build. It basically strips off all the rubbish that you don't need, and it makes it super fast. And then it basically puts only what you need to release it to a live website inside of this build folder. Okay, so you see like it's all sorts of craziness that goes in here. And then I'll show you, like literally one more step after this to deploy it. And I'll show you a step that we can even make this easier. But give this 1 sec. It shouldn't take. Okay, so we built it. So you see in build now, we've got all this like weird stuff which we don't need to care about. We don't touch the build photo, guys. We literally let npm run build do it for us. And now here's the magic. You just do Firebase, deploy, enter. And now what's going to happen is it's going to go to our build folder. It's going to do everything we need to do. It says found 18 files in the build folder. It's uploading the files. It's finalizing it. It's releasing it. And then it gives you a URL. So now it says hosting URL. So if I press command and I just click it, guys, this is live right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this in the chat, and everyone can start writing your to-dos on this app. So give me 1 sec. Where is the chat? Okay, so can everyone go to, oh, wait, why am I sending it to Amna? 1 sec. Can everyone go to this link? So I just dropped it in the chat. Yeah, there we go. So you see, everyone can like, you can see everyone's typing in stuff. Thank you very much, Rishi. And look, this is live, guys. Like, this is like insane. Like, that didn't take long to build, right? And now we've got everyone like writing all sorts of messages in here. Nice. All right. And then can you imagine now that like, that wasn't a lot of code, was it? Like to get that working, right? It didn't take that long to get this done. And right now, guys, it's kind of messed up how it's going to pop in, because I told you we need a timestamp to sort things. And that's super easy as well. I'm going to drop a Loom on that and how we can do that properly, but I don't want to sort of go too far into that. But the point is, guys, that's literally it. Yeah. So now when I type in here and I press enter, it's going to pop in here, and like everything's real time. And this is persistent. So if I refresh this, there you go. Right. So what I want you guys to really take note of the power of this. What we just did is that this has never been before possible on that level of simplicity. Like we can literally build apps, right? We can deploy them. And then now all you need to do, right, is build a portfolio. Yeah. Deploy, build whatever side projects you need to do. Like if you build a to-do app, deploy it to Firebase. And then in your portfolio, which you can buy a nice fancy domain name saying mylovelyportfolio.com or something. And basically in your portfolio, you can have all the links to these deployment, like to these URLs, and these are going to be permanent. And then you can show off to your employer saying, I've got 10 apps that are deployed live, and I can show you right now in my portfolio. And you can check it out by going to this thing. And by the way, if you're wondering, like, if you do get a custom domain, so like a domain meaning like mylovelywebsite.com, it's as simple as going to hosting over here. You can see, and by the way, guys, if you have like, say if I deployed again, I can actually click one of these and I can roll back. So say like I just made a deployment and things broke, I could literally click like the last deployment and roll back to it. And it's super easy. It's that easy. You just click it and you click roll back. But what you can do is you can click add custom domain, add your domain, and you just follow the steps and it's done. You can make that. Then you basically redirect all the traffic from My Lovely Website to your custom link. And but on what they're going to see is mylovelywebsite.com, which is awesome. Yeah. So like, I can see like the reaction kind of got real when I gave the live demo, and everyone was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going with this, right? Like, so that's what I wanted to see. I know it gets a bit intense, like, but if everyone found that pretty cool, then just like raise your hand, so I can just get
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I have just one question again.
Yeah.
Yeah, means what kind of data means? Is it everything we can deploy any database in this Firebase? For example, if you want to do the SQL related stuff, also we can deploy in this Firebase.
So the way to think of this is, right, okay, so the reason why they built Firebase is it was to like get rid of problems that you faced in SQL databases, is to get rid of problems you faced in NoSQL databases. It's basically like they took the best of like all these different solutions and made Firestore. So it's like asking like in React, can we use Angular? If that makes sense, right? It's its own complete tool, okay? So like when we use this database, no, you won't be using SQL in this database because Firestore is its own database and it's got its own structure. So it's not NoSQL, it's not SQL, it's literally Firestore. It's its own complete separate new thing, right?
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Sorry.
One more question. Means if you want to create a user authentication database to authenticate with, so this Firebase database will be helpful in this as well, or we need to go with basic SQL?
Exactly. So you'd use a combination of authentication over here on the left, and then you would store the IDs inside of the database. But that's a much more in-depth tutorial that we can do at another time, because I just want everyone to get used to using a database at this point. But once you do have authentication, guys, just to show you how easy it is, look, you just literally tick these and click like which ones you want. It's insane. Like you can literally have like Twitter, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, anonymous. Like you don't even have to have a login, and you get an ID.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is this like, is there a fee with this? Is there hidden charges or what's up?
So you have usage quotas. Honestly, you will not max out the usage quota on all of your, even if we had like the entire Clever Programmer team spamming this chat, it's so generous, their usage quota. When it comes to actually using, so you get charged when the minute you start, if you need to use any third-party API like Stripe or PayPal or something like this, basically an external API, you have to have a paid plan because they block out the external network requests. So you need to know that. But in terms of never be worried about maxing out on the free quota because it's pretty much really, really generous in what they give you. Like it's insane how much they give you for free.
Awesome.
So that's really cool.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Is it safe to host a website here?
Yes. So every website that's deployed, one, it's secure, CCA. They give you an SSL certificate. And two, so it's pretty much as secure as you would be doing it on any other platform. So it is a secure hosting solution. The question is, however, the way you store your data right now, we've got it public, okay? So when you do have users, when you have authentication, you set up something called Firebase rules so that not anyone can just access anyone's data. And that has its own syntax, which even I'm still getting used to, which is like, they have their own language for that. But they have documents that will tell you, and then you can have like, you see like you have little tests and stuff like that. But to answer your question, you can have a completely secure system on Firebase. So like a lot of production companies, I'm trying to think. I saw a few like amazing ones that I was like, whoa, they use Firebase. Like a lot of big companies use Firebase. Yeah, put it that way.
I also have one question. So, is it possible to deploy just front end when we are not using like back end with the Firebase? It's like I have like HTML, CSS, JavaScript portfolio. Is it possible to just deploy the front end?
Yes. So if you can deploy, so I've actually like built sort of like a static website with just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript before. And I basically just, the way I did it, so if you want to know like a hacky way of doing that, so like, so you don't do the whole build stuff, by the way, you basically would just set it up and then you would just copy and paste your entire, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript inside of your build. And then you would run Firebase deploy. Because remember, all it's doing is just plopping whatever's inside your build into your hosting, right? So it will do that and it will work really nicely. Now, guys, remember I did 2 commands to deploy this. I did npm run build and I done Firebase deploy. So I'll show you a quick little shortcut. So if you go into package.json, you can add your own scripts, right? So what I usually do is I teach all my students to add a deploy script, right? And what this does is basically you can just add your command here. So I usually do npm run build, and then I basically chain. So I say after you've done that, do Firebase deploy. Yeah, and then now we've just added our own custom script. So now if I go here and I write npm run deploy, not only does it build the app, it then runs a deployment, which is really nice. So literally, like if you make a bunch of changes and your client, say you have a client and he's like, I need this changed ASAP on the website, you can basically just be like, yep, I'm going to make the change, npm run deploy, boom, done. Everything's done. Like you don't have to worry, you don't have to stress. Once it's all hooked up to the custom domains, literally that's it. I've just deployed again. And now if we want to check on the deployment, we go over to hosting, and you can see now we've got 2 deployments. You see this? That's the one that we just did. And then here, if we go roll back, we can roll back to that deployment. Yeah.
A quick question. So authentication, which is in Firebase, is it for authenticating for the Firebase database, or from the website also we can authenticate?
No,
Means
so
when we are logging
it's a complete authentication system. So I think there's any of the other Firebase features for now. Let's not dive too far into it. But to answer your question, it's basically if you have username and passwords on your website, you can basically have any of those listed things like Facebook, GitHub, Twitter, any of them can basically be your login. So when you see websites and it says sign in with Google, sign in with Twitter, whatever you need to do, or username and password, you can basically use any of them. And then how you determine, like how you build your system after that is up to you. But the actual authenticating your user and checking with the Google servers and checking that their passwords match and stuff like that happens through the Firebase API. Yeah. So I'm going to make eventually we're going to have the whole thing completely documented from start to finish. So if you want authentication, we'll cover you there. If you want database, we'll cover you there. If you want storage, we'll cover you there. If you want functions, even ML-Kit, which is machine learning, guys. You have machine learning in here. It's insane what you can do with this.
What? I'm super excited. Oh
yeah.
My God.
And guys, I'll show you something even more crazy, right? You can even have extensions here. So there's one, this blew my mind when I saw this for the first time. So this translate text here, right? If you install this extension and I point it towards the title, you see that document there where it had the title and then it had the to-do, like take the dogs out for a walk, for example. If I point it to that, what it will do is every single time I post something into here, for example, it will run a script, right? It will run a machine, a scalable script, which will work for every single one of these. And it will basically say title-en, title-Dutch, title-French, whatever you need to do. And it will translate that into as many languages as you want. And then you can, on your front end, you can say if you want to have Mandarin or if you want to have Spanish, then it'll pretty much it will render it in that, because it will literally, you'll have a whole record of all your different languages in your database, all from just putting it in the language that you chose, which is insane. And you literally just click install and it does that. Which is just insane. You couldn't do this before. You'd have to write custom code. You'd have to have a scaling script. You'd have to do a bunch of stuff or a cron job or something to do that. And now you just click install and it does it for you, which is insane. And they have a bunch of extensions, resizing images. So when you upload an image, it will resize it into 3 different sizes so that you can have a small, medium, big, depending on if you came on a mobile, give them the small one. If you came on a desktop, give them the big one. It's crazy what you can do with this. So it's really, really exciting stuff. But yeah, I'm really, really glad that we actually managed to get to the end of that, because I wanted to really show you three fundamentals here, which was GitHub. And what I'm going to do now is just quickly to finish it off, I'm going to submit this. So I'm going to say git status. So you can see we've got a bunch of files. I'm going to add that to the next commit, and I'm going to say git commit. I'm going to say add Firebase, add Firebase, add Firebase. Yeah, just pretty much add Firebase and connect to-dos. Commit the files, and I say git status, and now it will say you're ahead of GitHub by 1 commit. So I need to say git push. And now on that repo that we set up earlier, you'll see if I refresh it, we have the Firebase stuff. Yeah, and this is public, guys. So if you want to go and check out this code, I will drop it in the Slack channel right now. So there you go. Completely public. You can have a look at the code. You can check out everything from there. Don't copy code, guys. It's not going to benefit you. Like, go through the tutorial from the beginning and do it properly from the get-go. And yeah, so make sure you do it. Please, please, please don't copy code, because the reason why I say that is you're not going to benefit. You're going to, yeah, you'll have a working app at the end of it. But if I asked you to do the same thing for like a completely different context, you wouldn't know what to do. So make sure you learn the fundamentals, so that you basically then you can learn how to use Firestore. If I said to you build a messenger app, pretty sure after this, like we pretty much just had a to-do list, which kind of just became a messenger app, right? You could build that, and it didn't even take that long to do that. Yeah. So with that said, the homework link is, I'm going to drop it in the submission in the Slack channel right now. So homework. So point right. There you go. So we have the homework link right there. Pretty much, so I'm going to quickly show you what the homework consists of. So this week, I didn't want to skip past the to-do app again, because I think a lot of people can still benefit from doing that. Because the reason being is, I saw a lot of people submitted it, but I also saw the majority of people still yet to submit that homework, right? So I want you guys to do that properly, because it's simple to do it, but I promise you, like, it teaches you state and props. Like, it will teach you state and props really well. Use Yusuf and Rishi's tutorial. It's really, really good. It explains how to do the delete and stuff like that. And then once you get to the point where you finish part 1, then give this cool stuff that we just did part 2 ago. So that the extension, which is basically like, convert it to use like to fetch and store stuff from Firestore, and then deploy it to Firebase hosting. So you can give all this fun stuff a go. It's all in the recording, which I'm going to upload after this. And I'll drop the link in here. And then obviously once I've updated the login at the platform, you'll see it in there as well. Yeah. So any final questions, guys? Did you guys find the Firebase stuff pretty cool? Or would you like to see more of that? Yeah, so let me unmute you guys, because right now I think we can just have
it was very good. And
yeah,
thank you so much, Sonny, for this information. It was really helpful.
Yeah, awesome. Glad you found it useful, dude.
Thank you. Will you put it up, because I lost my internet for one period and I couldn't code along.
Sorry, what was that?
Are you uploading this video soon?
Yeah, so I usually do it straight after this, so I'll just chuck it straight onto YouTube, and then I'll ping the YouTube link after this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So and if I hope that was really useful. If it was, let's like drop some feedback in the Slack channel. And guys, please, I can't stress it enough. Make sure you submit the homework, because we have 45 people in here right now, and we had like 16 submissions. So that means that definitely not everyone's doing the homework. So I need everyone to like give it a go. If you get stuck, ask as many questions as you want in PWJ chat, or we've got a React chat now, which I'm super happy about. Yeah, which I was pumped when that came in. Like, I was super happy about that. So like literally spam the React chat with questions. Like, if I don't see questions in that chat, I'm going to be annoyed, and then I'm not going to show you some cool stuff next time. So if you want to see cool stuff, then you have to do your homework.
Right? Yeah. Sonny?
Yeah.
I have a question. Where's the React chat? Is it in Slack or in Facebook?
It's in Slack. Yeah, it's in Slack. So who was that? Was that Muiz?
Yeah, it's Muiz. I don't have this in my Slack.
Oh, right. You're not actually. Why are you not in the chat? Invite to channel. All right, I just added you to it.
Oh, perfect. Now I see it. Thanks a lot.
So if anyone can't see that, so thank you for pointing that. If anyone can't see that, just ping me. We have 114 people in here at the moment. But yeah, I think you should be able to join it. If you can't, like, you just click the add button on the channels, and you should be able to join it. So if you go here, and you just click on, I'm not sharing my screen.
Share
but,
your
yeah.
screen.
Yeah, so if you go to Slack and you see over here, you can just click add, and then you basically type in React. I'm already added, so it might not come up. But basically, if you can click this and just join them, but don't join random channels, guys. Like, let's keep it clean. Just join React.js, yeah. Because I just realized that might have been a silly thing to show. But okay, so literally, just if everyone can give that a go, it would mean a lot. Like, just
Срanje je što jebate
Yep.
svaki dan nešto novo, jebate, ne stignem pratiti.
all right.
Brate, sve te čujemo, je.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Any more questions, guys? Any last final questions before we close up?
Thank you so much. That's why I learned so much. I'm so glad.
Oh, you're welcome, dude. Honestly, I'm really glad I could help you out. It makes my day when people drop that sort of stuff. So thank you so much.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sonny, I just want to say you are such a beast, my man.
Who is that? Wait, let me see. Who's that speaking?
Armand.
Just wave your, oh, what's up, dude? How's it going? Oh, thank you, man.
Pretty good.
That means a lot. It means a lot. Honestly, you'll be at the same level in no time. Like, just do the homework. Do the
Yeah.
homework and just drop as many questions as you can. Honestly, like when you guys get up to a certain point, you naturally will progress into a success coach. And then like things move so fast from there. Like you can ask Rishi Yusuf, like before you know it, you're just flying. Like, so honestly, like if you think this is cool, like soon you'll be in the same position and you'll be building stuff. And like, and the amazing thing is like, right, like you have all of us around to help you out. You have direct access to me. So don't ever feel like you can't message me. Just ping me any questions and I'll be like straight on the back to help you out. Right. So I think we'll wrap up there, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. And I will see you next week on Tuesday. Okay.
Bye.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thank you.